Chapter 1. Into the Murim. In the opulent suburbs of California, nestled within a grand villa, lived Greg Thompson, a young man in his early 20s. Greg was a stark contrast to the luxurious surroundings he resided in. His physique was round and well-padded, a testament to a life of indulgence and leisure. His ruffled hair and scruffy beard only added to his unkempt appearance. Despite his comfortable lifestyle, Greg's ambitions transcended the realm of riches and luxury. Inside his palatial villa, Greg's room was a chaotic haven of murim-related treasures. Piles of manga and books adorned every available surface, forming haphazard towers that reached towards the ceiling. The room was a haven for escapism, a sanctuary where Greg could dive into the adventures and battles of his beloved fictional worlds. His room's extravagance knew no bounds either. The spacious area held a mini-gym equipped with the latest exercise machines, gathering dust from disuse. A gleaming jacuzzi, like an oasis of warmth, invited relaxation but was rarely utilized. Greg's collection of murim figurines and posters decorated the walls, providing a colorful backdrop to his haven of imagination. One rainy evening, with his room becoming increasingly unbearable due to the stench of stale pizza boxes and empty soda bottles that accumulated over a week, Greg grumbled in annoyance. Lazily dragging himself from his mountainous comic collection, he decided to take out the trash. His plush slippers barely carrying his weight, he stumbled towards the door, fueled more by irritation than responsibility. As he huffed and trudged out into the drizzle, his frustration only grew. His dreams of being a formidable hero in a martial arts world, surrounded by admirers, wealth, and fame, seemed distant and unattainable. Reality was a cruel mistress, and his lethargic nature prevented him from becoming the protagonist of his own story. With a disgruntled expression etched on his face, Greg tossed the piled-up trash bags into the bin. The rain intensified, adding to his discontentment. Slowly walking back up the driveway, his thoughts swirled with fantasies of how his life could be different, if only he had the strength and determination to chase his dreams. And then, in a moment that would change his life forever, a bright bolt of lightning split the darkened sky and struck Greg Thompson with a powerful surge of electricity. The world around him blurred as he lost consciousness, his body collapsing to the wet pavement. As Greg slowly opened his eyes, his vision was greeted by the sight of a woman in a breathtakingly familiar dress, one he had seen countless times in his murim manga. Her beauty was nothing short of that of movie stars, her presence both captivating and enigmatic. But instead of a warm welcome to this fantastical world, he found himself rudely thrown into a small cage right next to the stunning woman. Attempting to speak up, his voice betrayed him, leaving only an odd squeaking noise that did little to express his frustration. Frustration soon gave way to confusion and shock when Greg realized he was no longer the man he once knew. He looked down at his body, only to find that he was now covered in a thick, soft, white fur. His hands were replaced by cute, delicate paws, and his once human ears now drooped down beside his head. Panic surged through him as the realization hit like a ton of bricks. "I am a frickin' rabbit," he squeaked in despair, unable to believe the absurdity of his transformation. The woman, who had been observing the spectacle, kicked the cage, sending it into the arms of a young man nearby. Shaking off the dizziness from the abrupt movement, Greg peered around to see that other young warriors were offering similarly caged animals to the mysterious woman. These animals came in all sorts of weird colors, and some even emitted an eerie glow. As the young man holding him was rejected, he walked away, clearly heartbroken, leaving his cage on the side of the road. Throughout the day, Greg watched as numerous warriors were turned away at the gate where the woman stood, and he surmised that this must be a martial arts sect. Yet, as the hours wore on, and the sense of isolation within the tiny cage intensified, panic began to envelop him. Was this how his adventure in the world of murim was destined to end? As a helpless, tiny rabbit? No, I will not die like this, Greg determined, clenching his little paws with resolve. He kicked the cage with all his might, but the meager force only resulted in a sore leg. Struggling to fumble with the lock, he soon realized that without opposable thumbs, escape was impossible. Desperation led him to look at the woman standing at the gate, hoping she might take pity and set him free. After a few pitiful cries, the woman finally noticed him. Gracefully, She approached the cage and, with a flick of her foot, launched him high into the sky. Freaking Bayich! Greg's scream of agony echoed through the air as the cage soared through the branches of a tree, breaking a few of them, before plummeting into a dense thicket of shrubbery. The impact shook him, and he landed with an undignified thud, feeling like the unluckiest rabbit in the world of murim. Hours passed after the tumultuous journey through the branches, and finally, Greg noticed that the cage was now deformed, with the lock nowhere to be found. The impact must have broken it off during the wild descent. Pushing and wriggling himself through the damaged part, he finally landed on the ground, surprisingly unharmed despite the rough ordeal. Greg found himself immersed in the heart of a dense forest, its symphony of rustling leaves and distant calls sending shivers down his furry spine. The unfamiliar sounds unnerved him. An instinct kicked in as he desperately sought refuge. After a frantic search, he discovered a small, concealed hole and darted inside, his tiny heart pounding in his chest. This is beyond unfair. Finally, I'm in a martial artist's world, and I'm stuck in this furry predicament, he muttered to himself, frustration etched across his rabbit features. Suddenly, a spark of hope ignited in his oversized eyes. "Wait a minute," he exclaimed, springing to his feet. "I've transmigrated, just like in those stories. I should have some kind of overpowered skill, right?" He decisively slammed one paw into the other, a determined glint in his gaze. "All I need to do is focus." Seating himself with determined resolve, Greg closed his eyes and tried to channel the essence of his newfound existence. However, after what felt like an eternity, all he had to show for his efforts was a throbbing headache. "Curses!" he exclaimed, frustration bubbling to the surface, unwittingly drawing the attention of a nearby beast. Eek! In a panic, Greg leaped to his feet, his small body trembling with fear. With every ounce of strength, he propelled himself away from the curious creature, determined to put as much distance between them as possible. The forest became a blur as he sprinted through the underbrush, the world around him a chaotic whirlwind of colors and shadows. Having finally discovered a more secure hiding spot, Greg sought refuge within the decaying embrace of an old, hollowed tree. Gasping for breath, he sank onto the soft, pulpy wood, the remnants of the tree's former life, providing an oddly comforting perch. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the forest in hues of twilight, Greg decided to rest within the confines of his arboreal sanctuary. Yet, despite the tranquility of the surroundings, sleep eluded him. In the waning light, Greg sat in stillness, attempting to steady his breathing. A peculiar sensation enveloped him, as if minuscule dust particles were engaged in an ethereal dance around his form. Annoyed, he waved his paw in an attempt to disperse them, only to find that, with every attempt to drift into slumber, these specks returned, accompanied by newfound companions. Perplexed, Greg furrowed his furry brow. "Wait a minute," he pondered. "How on earth can I see dust particles with my eyes closed?" Realization struck, and he restrained himself from swatting them away, allowing the microscopic entities to weave through his skin and commence an intricate dance within his very being. "I am such a moron," Greg cursed himself, a blend of frustration and amusement crossing his rabbit features. Determined to make sense of this newfound phenomenon, he assumed a makeshift lotus pose, or the closest approximation his transformed body allowed. To his astonishment, the luminescent specks followed his intentions, converging and coalescing at a point within his body, his dantian. A surge of joy illuminated Greg's countenance, momentarily disrupting his attempt at meditation. "I can cultivate," he exclaimed, the revelation transforming his face into a radiant expression, like the first rays of dawn breaking through the forest canopy. He dedicated the entire night to maintaining the meditation pose, diligently drawing in spiritual energy, known as chi. As the first tendrils of dawn crept through the forest canopy, Greg sensed a transformation within himself. He finally possessed a core. Though no larger than a grain of sand, it stood as a testament to his perseverance, a fragile yet monumental achievement. "I might just make it in this world," Greg mused with a self-assured smile. However, his triumphant moment was abruptly interrupted as an intense headache seized him. The pain was so overwhelming that he thrashed about inside the hollow trunk, muscles tensing involuntarily and white foam escaping his mouth. In a matter of minutes, the excruciating pain forced him into unconsciousness. When Greg eventually regained consciousness, the noonday sun cast its warm glow upon him, but he felt as if he had weathered a storm. His eyes were bloodshot, and his body trembled with an unsettling fever. "Just what was that? Eek!" he exclaimed, wincing as he clutched his throbbing head. As realization dawned upon him, he discovered a newfound ability. He now possessed knowledge of every technique he had ever seen or read about in anime and manga, not merely aware, but as if he had mastered them all. Hundreds upon thousands of skills and techniques lay at his mental fingertips. For a moment of playful experimentation, Greg decided to test the waters. Using the moon-carving crush fist technique on the surrounding wood, he marveled as his energy core depleted with a single move, reducing the wood to splinters. "Cool," he murmured, stepping back in a daze. "I could only muster 1/millionth of the power of this technique, and it already drained me completely. With this skill, I could potentially become the greatest teacher of all," Greg exclaimed with a hopeful smile. However, as he pondered the idea, a realization dawned on him. Why not? His grin widened with genuine glee. "I don't need to be the hero. Instead, I will raise my own army of heroes, and I can live a life as a revered master." In his excitement, he hopped around, envisioning a future where he shaped the destinies of those under his guidance. However, his jubilation was short-lived. The noise he generated drew the attention of a multitude of strange beasts, shattering the peaceful ambience. "Not again!" he screamed inwardly, pushing himself to the very limit to escape the impending threat. Fortunately, his diminutive size allowed him to navigate through shortcuts beneath the foliage, evading the pursuing creatures and slipping away from danger. When he was convinced that not a single beast could see or hear him, Greg took a moment to reflect. "I really need to be more aware of what I do. How will others look up to me if I act like a brash kid?" He took deep breaths to steady himself. Calm, collected. "Let's adopt a new name and a new personality." Settling into a moment of quiet contemplation, he drew upon his knowledge of multiple languages, a skill acquired through his passion for manga in its original language, which, as luck would have it, included Chinese. After careful consideration, he decided to call himself Lauscher for the time being. Drawing on his studies in acting, Greg embraced the persona of an esteemed elder, crafting an image that exuded wisdom and authority, hoping it would serve him well in the unpredictable world he now found himself in. For the latter half of the day, Lauscher delved into the extensive library of skills and techniques, a treasure trove that promised to enhance his power in the shortest possible time. Recalling a tale where a demon lord reincarnated and used a skill to transform his seemingly inferior body into one of genius, Lauscher recognized the potential of such techniques in overcoming his current limitations. Cultivation, he realized, often began with individuals lacking inherent talent. Many were not destined to become martial artists, their journey fraught with the challenge of cultivating qi. With his body's innate ability to sense the qi in the air, Lauscher acknowledged his current talent was decent, though far from peak quality. The skill, now engraved in his mind, came with its own set of drawbacks, preventing him from haphazardly applying it. His core remained empty due to his impulsive actions in the tree trunk. However, a more pressing concern nagged at him. Lauscher hadn't consumed anything in the last 2 days, and his thirst and hunger were becoming unbearable. His once pristine white fur coat had transformed into a dirty and unsightly mess. Listening intently with his bunny ears perked up, he discerned the faint sound of a nearby creek. Summoning his limited strength, he made his way there and drank deeply, savoring the refreshing liquid. His attention then turned to the fresh grass growing beside the flowing water, and without hesitation, he began to graze on it. Despite his human past, hunger proved to be a powerful force, driving him to satisfy the primal instincts of his newfound rabbit form. Having satisfactorily attended to his bodily needs, Lauscher embarked on a meticulous grooming session. He washed away the accumulated dirt from his once pristine coat, a task made easier by the warm summer season that spared him the concern of catching a cold during the drying process. Following the soothing melody of the nearby creek, Lauscher adhered to the first rule of survival: always follow downstream. With a positive outlook, he set a steady pace, confident that civilization awaited him. As nightfall blanketed the landscape in darkness, Lauscher sought refuge close to the creek. Taking advantage of the concealment, he resumed his cultivation practice. Armed with the wealth of knowledge from his mental library, he employed the god-defying demon-breathing technique. This advanced technique not only tripled his chi absorption but also purified it in the process, propelling his core development by a considerable margin. Morning arrived sooner than he anticipated, time passing swiftly in his meditative state. As he opened his eyes, a surge of energy coursed through him, and he felt significantly more powerful than before. His core, now transformed into a deep purple hue, stood as a testament to the purification process. Fueled by newfound confidence, Lauscher quickened his pace, resolute in his pursuit of the ever-flowing water, eager to uncover the path it laid before him. As a bunny, Lauscher found solace in the abundance of grass, and the nearby creek proved a constant source to quench his thirst whenever needed. For 3 days, he faithfully followed the meandering creek through the valley, his journey marked by the rustling foliage and the soothing sound of flowing water. The monotony of the landscape abruptly shifted when he glimpsed the roofs of buildings on the horizon. As he drew closer, the village unfolded before him like a hidden gem nestled at the bottom of the valley. 16 houses dotted the landscape, surrounded by rice paddies, creating a picturesque scene. A ravine added an extra layer of separation between the village and the world beyond. At the village's edge, Lauscher's bunny eyes caught sight of a young boy engrossed in martial training. Gripped by a surge of recognition, a complex mix of anger and determination surged within him. "You little shit, you left me to die there. Oh, I am coming for you, son," he silently vowed, the determination etching a determined glint into his rabbit eyes. Within the village, Lauscher observed the boy's martial arts practice with stealthy precision. The fluidity and grace of the boy's movements captivated him, akin to witnessing an art form surpassing anything he had seen in movies. Yet, an elusive sense of unease lingered, subtly unsettling him as he continued to watch, unable to pinpoint the source of his disquiet. Turning to the vast repository of techniques within his mental library, Lauscher swiftly identified the technique the boy was attempting: whistling windsword, a low-level martial art. However, the execution left much to be desired. The boy's movements were sloppy and out of sync. To an untrained observer, the display might seem flashy or even intimidating, but for Lauscher, a walking compendium of martial arts techniques, it was nothing short of an eyesore. Despite the lingering rage, Lauscher couldn't bring himself to harbor ill intentions toward the boy. In the child's perception, he was merely a potential entry ticket to a martial arts sect, a creature of little consequence. Yet, this perspective did little to quell Lauscher's simmering anger. Instead, he chose to observe the boy's capabilities. Thanks to his enhanced breathing technique, he managed to deliver a powerful punch to a small tree nearby, causing it to shatter and fall. The proximity of humans ceased to unnerve him, allowing him to witness the boy's relentless dedication as the minutes transformed into hours and the midday sun leaned toward the horizon. A peculiar sensation began to envelop Lauscher's mind: respect. Despite the boy's youth, his endurance and tenacity were admirable. When the boy finally concluded his training, Lauscher's curiosity was piqued, and he silently trailed him from the shadows, eager to learn more about the determined young martial artist. The village, though of substantial size, exuded a serene tranquility in the late hours. With most residents retired for the night, Greg's discreet pursuit of the boy went unnoticed in the moonlit streets. The houses, displaying a distinct Eastern style, contributed to the village's enigmatic charm, and the soft glow of lanterns cast a warm aura upon the surroundings. Greg's diminutive rabbit form proved advantageous, allowing him to seamlessly conceal himself in various nooks and crannies along the way. As the boy came to a halt at an unassuming house and slipped inside, Greg couldn't resist a playful grin. "Now, ladies and gentlemen, start the 007 theme song as I sneak inside," he chuckled, channeling his inner secret agent. With remarkable agility, he leaped onto nearby crates, then onto the windowsill, affording him a perfect view of the boy's room. The young martial artist hopped onto his bed and swiftly succumbed to slumber, drained from the day's rigorous training. With the boy peacefully asleep, Greg emerged from his hiding place and surveyed the room. It neither boasted extravagance nor exuded destitution, offering a comforting and inviting ambience. In a moment of self-amusement, Greg playfully compared the space to his own disorderly room. Now, what should I do? Oh wait, I haven't eaten or drunk anything the whole day, and I feel as fine as one could get, he observed, marveling at the absence of physical needs in his current form, despite being in the very beginning of his cultivation. Does this body have no need for such things anymore? I suppose we'll find out soon. Gracefully hopping into the room, Lauscher landed on the side of the bed, gazing at the peaceful expression on the boy's face. Even his last lingering trace of anger dissipated. I can't believe I'm this much of a softie, Lauscher muttered, scratching his head with a bemused smile. He sighed, settling into a seated position as he began to cultivate his chi. It was one of the few activities available to him in this moment. The air in this area was noticeably thinner in terms of chi compared to the forest, where it was abundant, but thanks to his technique, he managed to gather a considerable amount. Balancing on the brink of his first bottleneck, Lauscher's concentration was intermittently disrupted by the boy's movements in his sleep. Opening his eyes, he momentarily halted his cultivation, acknowledging the swift passage of time as the first rays of the morning sun painted the sky with pale blue hues. It dawned on him that he had spent the entire night in this meditative state, a realization that brought a sense of both accomplishment and a deeper connection. With an air of authority, Lauscher jumped onto the boy's chest and crossed his arms, trying to emulate the wise teachers he had encountered in his stories. Startled, the boy opened his eyes and found himself face to face with the very rabbit he had left back at the sect. The piercing gaze from the bunny left no doubt in the boy's mind that this was no ordinary creature. It had to be a spirit beast. Hey there, little one. How did you get here? The boy attempted to sit up, but a swift stomp from the rabbit on his chest halted his movement. Raising his arm defensively, he tried to reassure the bunny. Calm down. I am not going to hurt you. Understanding the boy's words, Lauscher decided to take matters into his own paws and launched a sideways kick, lightly tapping the boy's chin. He held back, thinking it wouldn't cause much harm due to his lack of power. However, to his surprise, the boy was sent flying off the bed, and a glow of blue momentarily surrounded Greg's leg. Did I use chi with that kick? Lauscher marveled at his newfound ability. Well, it is said to assume your presence with authority, so I guess this fits the bill. But holy moly, I really used chi. He couldn't help but grin with excitement. The boy, still shocked by the spectacle, cried out, "What the hell? You can use chi?" His eyes were fixed on the smug-looking bunny before him. Lauscher, utilizing his chi and a technique from his mental library, responded to the boy through telepathic communication. That was for disrespecting me when I was at my weakest. I am a great teacher called Lauscher. What is yours, boy? I am sorry. I can hear you, but I am still shocked, sir. The boy bowed in a blend of respect and confusion. Fully committed to his role, Lauscher embodied the image of the master he had envisioned in his manga countless times. It is commendable that you assumed that pose. Every good disciple should welcome their master with a bow. He relished the situation. Now, bring me sake, and we shall discuss how I should teach you. The boy, clearly taken aback, stammered. Are you like a real master? But then why do you look like this? Talking back to your master on the first day? It seems that there is much work to be done until you reach basic standards. Lauscher feigned a scolding tone. No. I mean, no offense, but I already plan to become a disciple of the Hunter sect. That's why I brought you there. Wait, how come you didn't talk when I found you? The boy questioned, trying to make sense of the peculiar circumstances. An unparalleled expert and I had a misunderstanding, and I lost due to trickery, so I needed to lay low and hide, Lauscher explained, adhering to his prepared responses. I will remain like this until the time is right to reveal my true form. Forget about becoming a Hunter sect disciple. I have chosen you, and I will make you into a martial emperor. The boy's eyes widened in astonishment, still grappling to find words to express his surprise and wonder. Again, you didn't answer my very first question. What is your name? Lauscher reiterated, determined to get a response. It's Tian Lang, sir. the boy replied, bowing down in respect. Good. You can call me Lauscher for the time being. Go get me some sake, disciple, the bunny ordered, fully embracing the role of a master. Tianlang nodded eagerly and rushed off to fulfill his master's request. Lauscher chuckled to himself, his rabbit form making the task of using qi for thought communication somewhat strenuous. Oh, gods, using this skill is painful and hard, but I feel like I can do it. Man, if only I could have some energy drink. Anyhow, I always wanted to try out sake. Shortly after, Tianlang returned with 2 sake cups and a gourd. He poured for the rabbit first and then himself. With this, I officially welcome you as my direct disciple. Tianlang, Lauscher declared before downing the full contents of the cup. The sake proved strong, with a sweet aftertaste reminiscent of peaches, and he savored the flavor. I watched you last night practicing, Lauscher revealed, eager to impart his wisdom. Really? Did you think I was worthy because you saw potential in me? Tianlang asked, excitement evident in his voice. The move you practiced was absolutely terrible, but your determination was commendable. I decided this way because I had a strange revelation watching you. Lauscher continued bluntly. We will go out there, and I will show you how it's done. Thank you, master. Tianlang cupped his fist to his new master, his determination renewed. Chapter 2. The First Disciple. As they walked along the main street together, some villagers turned their heads at the sight of a rabbit following the boy. I know this is weird, but in the world of murim, it's probably on the low end, Lauscher thought to himself, acknowledging the peculiarity of their situation. Suddenly, a group of 3 kids approached Tianlang, taunting him about the bunny. What's with the bunny? Did you try to get into the hunter's sect with that? Ha ha ha. One of the kids jeered. Such a loser, added another, mocking Tianlang. Unfazed, Tianlang defended himself. And if I am? At least I am trying. The first kid, named Wang, sneered. Well, I don't even need to go to such a rubbish sect. My parents already paid for me to get into the Tiger Blade sect. Are you shitting your pants now? With that talentless ass of yours, Wang, you will not last there a year. Tianlang retorted with a smile, but he received a punch in the stomach as a response, stumbling back from the force. You dare to mock me, peasant. Pummel him until he gets the message. Wang ordered his 2 friends as he walked away, leaving them to beat Tianlang senseless. After the brutal beating, the bullies laughed and walked away. Lauscher confronted Tianlang, expressing his frustration. 2 against 1. Really? What has this world come to? Get up. This amount of light damage is nothing. Shrug it off. I can't, master. Tianlang responded, feeling defeated. What do you mean you can't? Lauscher challenged, refusing to accept his disciple's self-doubt. I can't stand up, Tianlang cried. Lauscher locked eyes with him and asked again. And if I say that tomorrow you will beat all 3 of them up like this, even then you can't get up? Tianlang spat out some blood and struggled. But with newfound determination, he stood up. See, you can get up. You only need motivation. Come, follow me. Walk towards the boys' training spot. They reached the end of the village, and after a half-hour rest, Tianlang prepared to practice again. Show me your moves first, and I will advise, Lauscher instructed. Tianlang nodded and went through his first set of moves, a series he had observed and memorized from sneaking into a martial arts school. Though confident, his body ached from the recent beating. Lauscher concentrated on the boy's movements, fully utilizing his God-given ability. After the first set of moves, he stopped Lang. Though he couldn't explain why, he felt that this wind-based technique did not fit the boy's personality or his talent. Stop, sit down for a second and rest. I need to think, stated the bunny with a serious face. Lang nodded and patiently waited. Lauscher delved into his library of techniques and determined that fire-based techniques would be more suitable for the boy. Simultaneously, he realized that a too complex technique might hinder Lang's progress. Thus, he decided to establish a stable foundation for Lang to build upon. Look, this kind of high-level technique would only confuse you and hinder your further development. Instead, I will teach you the stepping phoenix technique. It is named as such because a chick needs to take steps first before being able to soar. It's a very simple sword technique with only 6 movements, said Lauscher in a dignified elder manner, his acting studies shining through. But isn't a technique with more movement stronger? Asked Tianlang. Not necessarily. Martial skills are like a building. The higher you want to reach, the stronger your foundation has to be. Now, follow my movements, instructed Lauscher, demonstrating the 6 moves. Lang grasped them in less than a few minutes, but perfecting it proved to be a different challenge altogether. Lauscher mentally pushed the boy each time he made a mistake or was even a millisecond late. Again, yelled Lauscher, making Lang sweat rivers under the sun. At noon, he allowed Lang to sit down and eat the food he had brought with him. This is impossible, sighed the boy, wiping the sweat from his brow. Nothing is impossible if you never give up. Trust me, I would never lie to my own disciple, said the bunny, walking over and picking up Lang's sword. One might say that a wooden sword could never cut through a boulder like this. He pointed with the sword to a sizable rock formation. Lauscher reached deep into his dantian, pulled his chi into the wooden sword, forming sword intent, and cut the boulder, leaving a huge gash in the ground behind it. Lang sat there with his mouth agape, but when he saw the smile on Lauscher's face, he calmed down and allowed a small smile as he walked to his pack. Master Lauscher, I have brought enough for you too, said Lang as he took out a second bamboo box with rice balls. No need. When you reach my level, you will no longer need food to sustain yourself. But right now, you need it more than ever. My training is going to be harsh, so eat up and prepare, instructed the bunny, trying to hide how much he exerted himself with that one strike. While he was able to form sword intent, the chi required for it consumed all of his stored-up energy. He nodded to the boy, who started to train. However, Lang did not hear his master's voice in his mind. Lang took it as a test and visualized all the mistakes he had ever made. He did not rush it, but made all his moves with direct focus. Lauscher, on the other hand, didn't stop the training for the reason Lang thought. He was simply unable to continue using the technique due to a lack of chi. He sat in a lotus pose and allowed the god-defying demon breathing technique to fill his meridians. The realization washed over him like a cold shower, sending shivers down his spine. The very same breathing technique was an immortal technique, a revelation that explained his loss of appetite and the diminishing need for drinks. The technique was so advanced that it nourished the body itself, eradicating its basic needs. It stood as the highest and most sophisticated breathing technique he had ever encountered in his extensive readings. With this revelation, he couldn't help but smirk and let out a small snort. I am already on my way to becoming an immortal, he thought to himself. Hearing the sound, Lang turned his attention to his master and saw him smiling. A rush of joy filled his heart. Master approves of how I did now that he tested me, he thought, his face beaming with pride. He returned to practicing with newfound strength. The sun was beginning its descent when he finally stopped, his arms feeling like lead weights. His legs shook beneath him with every step, but even Lang couldn't dispute how much he had learned with just one session. Lauscher, on the other hand, brimmed with energy, his dantian replenished. He acknowledged Lang, observing how well he fared in his first lesson. Never having considered himself a teacher before, the memories of all the times he immersed himself in manga now felt like a preparation for this moment. With a buoyant step, he followed the boy to his home. Mother, father, you're back, Tian Lang exclaimed, tossing his wooden sword aside upon seeing his parents finally return home. His father, a seasoned trader responsible for selling goods from the valley, was usually away for extended periods. This time, his mother had accompanied him to the big city, leaving Lang alone for almost a week. Hey kiddo, his father embraced him, a man with a substantial beard, wearing impressive green attire that hinted at his fighting prowess, evident in old scars and bulky arms. His mother, on the heavier side, adorned thin clothes that did not flatter her appearance. Hey sweetie, she also warmly embraced Lang. We sold everything for a good price, so we got you something, his father announced, reaching into his pack and revealing a brand new wooden sword. You can practice with this. Thank you, father. I also have good news for you, Lang said with joy, pointing towards the white bunny just behind him. Did you manage to get into the hunter sect with that bunny? Lang's mother inquired. No, but I have a master now, Lang proudly declared. I know you're desperate, but these kinds of jokes are not funny, his father responded, unsure if Lang was being serious. No, father, I mean it. Let me prove it. Master, my father was an escort warrior. You can trust him. I can tell. Lauscher communicated through thought to Lang's father. Your son has potential. What may I call you? I can't believe it. A rabbit that uses chi? Oh, my name is Tian Chao. Who are you? The burly man cupped his hands. For now, my real name can only cause harm, so you may also call me Lauscher. This is but a temporary form until I bring your child to my sect, Lauscher explained. You are a shape-shifting master? Then you must be from the Central Plains. Chao kneeled down respectfully. Please take my son. He has a good heart and is diligent. Stand up, Tian Chao. There is no need for this. I have already accepted him as a direct disciple, Lauscher reassured him. Thank you, Great Master Lauscher, Chao said gratefully. How about we celebrate with some sake, then? Lauscher suggested. With the ice broken, the night turned into a celebration until everyone eventually went to sleep. Well, everyone except for Lauscher. This is crazy. I drank at least 5 full cups of sake, and though it was nice, I don't feel any different. Not gonna lie, I am loving this so far. He jumped in joy. Maybe I'll teach him a breathing technique tomorrow. He sat down, closed his eyes, and collected even more chi throughout the night. As the morning sun painted the sky in hues of gold and orange, Lauscher felt an incredible surge of energy coursing through his body, as if a dam had burst open, breaking through the initial level of the breath-gathering stage. He felt sudden weightlessness and euphoria. His core size doubled, though in this current situation, it was only now 2 grains of fine sand. The change was barely visible, but the difference was obvious. He placed his palm on the back of Lang and searched for a good technique to do a bone restructuring procedure. With one of his sharp, needle-like nails, he made sure Lang would not wake up, and with another poke, he nullified his pain receptors and began. With his new amount of chi, he was able to finish this, using the least energy-requiring technique. When he was done, he could already see a few dark sweat patches on the bed, as well as smell it. He quickly left the room to let the boy sweat it all out. Trying to move, he felt as if all his own joints would need some help too. His own chi was also on the brink, so he decided to hop on the windowsill and meditate for a short while. Morning, Master Lauscher, welcomed him Chao. Morning, nodded the bunny. Your wife might need to wash the young boy's bedsheet today. Lauscher wiped his hands. What? Why? Asked the surprised man. I did bone restructuring on his body, so now he is sweating out all the impurities. I advise leaving him there till noon. Jumped onto a seat Lauscher. Chao did not react for a second. His mind was still trying to catch up to what was just said. When he realized what the bunny did for his son, he fell to kowtow. I am forever in your debt. My son now has a great future ahead of him. I will not stop until I make him into a martial emperor or even an immortal, said Lauscher nonchalantly. I never said that I was from the Central Plains. Now did I? Chao realized what he meant. This master was not some simple sect elder, but someone from the eternal realm. He could only cry out of joy at the moment, constantly thanking Lauscher. Okay, stop. You are embarrassing yourself, smiled the bunny. After the man calmed down, he tried to please Lauscher in every way, which was starting to get annoying for the bunny. He decided to jump to the roof of the building and cultivate until the boy wakes up. A loud yell disturbed him from this meditative state. Lang woke and realized that something was amiss. At first, he felt none of the pain from yesterday's grueling training. Instead, he felt light and strong. The second was the smell of decaying flesh mixed with days-old fish. He sat up and saw dried brown patches on his body. Not knowing what they were, he screamed and ran outside his room. Chao was prepared for this scenario and caught his son. Stop! Into the bath with you! He yanked the boy and brought him outside where he prepared a bath for his son. The cold water stung Lang's body like thousands of tiny needles, but soon he saw that all the patches dissipated from his skin. Those were the impurities from your body, Lang, stated his father. Your master did bone restructuring on you. He did what? Asked Lang, who only once heard of this in one of Chao's stories. It is mostly done to rich noble disciples, costing dozens of golds. Even if I worked 10 years only for that, I could barely pay for it, explained the man. Lang, finally cleaned and dressed, walked into the house where Lauscher was already waiting. I dare say, I did a good job with you, boy, he smiled. Lang, after listening to everything his father told him, bowed as deep as he could while he cupped his fist. Tian Lang, disciple, ready to learn.
Master,
As they stepped out of the house, the village was already bustling with activity. Lang's mother insisted on giving him a blue scarf to wear, ensuring that people would realize he was not just some ordinary bunny. With the scarf wrapped around his neck, Lauscher looked slightly less weird walking beside the young Lang. The villagers glanced curiously at the duo, wondering about the peculiar sight of a boy accompanied by a rabbit. But with the blue scarf's presence, most assumed it was just a new pet that Lang had found. The two continued towards the familiar training grounds. The air was crisp, and birds sang their melodies in the surrounding trees. As they approached, Wang and his two cronies were already there, warming up for their daily training. Lang's heart raced with anticipation, knowing that today he would have the chance to confront the bullies who had tormented him for so long. "Now, remember what I taught you about the stepping phoenix technique," spoke Lauscher in Lang's mind. "Calm your mind and do not fight with anger." "Of course, master," nodded the boy. As Lang stepped forward to face his adversaries, Wang sneered at him, assuming an easy victory, sighed, and led his cronies to handle the situation while he walked home. Without further ado, the battle commenced, and Lang unleashed the techniques he had learned from Lauscher. His movements were sharper, faster, and more controlled. The stepping phoenix technique, though basic, offered little to no openings. One of the boys attempted to deflect Lang's downward strike with his wooden sword, but the force was so potent that the boy's knee hit the ground from the pressure. The other tried to attack from the side, but Lang skillfully stepped back. In a matter of moments, Wang's cronies found themselves on the receiving end of Lang's newfound prowess. Lang's strikes landed with precision and strength, leaving his adversaries stunned and defeated. The villagers, who had stopped to witness the fight, watched in awe as the tables turned, and Lang emerged victorious. He stood tall, breathing heavily but with a triumphant smile on his face. The boys, beaten and humiliated, retreated in shame, leaving Lang standing as the victor. The onlookers cheered for Lang, amazed at the transformation they had witnessed. Lauscher looked on with pride, knowing that he had played a role in helping Lang discover his true potential. "You did well, my disciple," Lauscher said, his voice echoing in Lang's mind. From that day on, Lang's training with Lauscher intensified, and he embraced the path of a martial artist with newfound determination. Under the guidance of his rabbit master, Lang's skills grew, and he earned the respect of his fellow villagers. Lauscher implemented the traditional "put some weights on" method, tying heavy stones to Lang's feet and arms, making him practice the same moves under the added pressure. Lang progressed rapidly, demonstrating remarkable improvements within just 2 weeks. Thanks to the bone restructuring, Lang became more resilient and nimble, but his mental fortitude surpassed even Lauscher's expectations. The boy embodied the essence of a murim protagonist. While Lang diligently trained in the basics with increasing weights, Lauscher focused on his own chi cultivation. Breaking through 2 more minor levels in the breath-gathering stage, he anticipated the moment he had been waiting for. On the 5th day, a large rainstorm arrived, prompting most people to stay home. This, however, was precisely what Lauscher needed. Recalling the technique he had passed on when he first arrived, he leaped out of the window and found a meadow relatively far from the village. Lightning was the missing element. "This better be working unless I turn into grilled rabbit," he muttered. Focusing in a lotus position, utilizing his chi, he created a perfect route within the air and prepared the skill. He didn't have to wait long before a massive lightning bolt struck him. The martial skill orchestrated a dance with the lightning, redirecting its formidable energy to forcefully widen Lauscher's meridians and fortify his nerve system. Yet, this symbiotic communion was far from serene. It birthed a torrent of agony that eclipsed any pain he had ever endured, even when he first acquired his ability. This was an ordeal of an entirely different magnitude, a symphony of torment that echoed through his entire being. In response to the electrifying currents, Lauscher released a guttural cry, his body seizing up in convulsions, rendering him immobile. The onslaught of pain pushed his innate talent from the realm of early mid-level to the lofty heights of high mid-level proficiency. However, before he could fully fathom the transformation, a second lightning strike surged forth, intensifying the anguish. It felt as though his entire body had been disassembled into minuscule fragments and meticulously reassembled. With only a fleeting breath between strikes, he hastily withdrew his chi from the air to halt further lightning, but the third bolt was already descending. After the second ordeal, his meridians forcibly unfurled across his entire being, but the third lightning struck with unprecedented ferocity. The pain overwhelmed Lauscher, bringing him perilously close to unconsciousness. Yet, the grim realization dawned on him that cessation would mean death. Gritting his teeth against the overwhelming torment, he allowed the technique to continue its transformative work on his fine meridians. As the stormy symphony subsided, he collapsed onto the damp grass, his breaths heavy, and his entire body shimmering with the lingering traces of electricity. At this moment, any sense of embarrassment was overshadowed by the sheer relief of survival. Now, his talent soared to the pinnacle of high peak levels. His futile attempts to move were met with rebellion from his muscles, leaving his body at the mercy of the relentless downpour. The struggle persisted for hours until, with an indomitable will, he managed to coerce a single finger into motion. Slowly and persistently, he pushed against the resistance until his body relented, allowing him to sit up. Surveying the aftermath, he discovered a scorched ring in the grass and a pile of bunny droppings. To his own surprise, he found the sight oddly amusing. Examining himself, his fur still radiated a glowing luminescence akin to an iridescent lamp. After focusing for a moment, he successfully dissipated the glow and made his way back to Lang's home. He had persistent pain and a slight cough that produced traces of blood. It was evident that he had not executed the technique flawlessly, resulting in minor drawbacks. Upon arrival, he utilized an old shirt to dry himself and settled into a meditative stance to commence the process of healing. The forcibly open meridians and fine meridians demanded continuous qi circulation to maintain their newfound openness, leaving Lauscher with no respite. In the confines of meditation, he navigated the intricate channels of his own energy, mending and fortifying his body against the lingering repercussions of the electrifying ordeal. Following this transformative experience, Lauscher found himself never in need of sleep, with a simple meditation session sufficing to banish any trace of fatigue within a few hours. 2 weeks elapsed since his initiation of Lang's training, witnessing an unprecedented surge in the boy's skills. His newfound speed propelled him to levels that enabled the acquisition of an advanced move. Today, I want you to defeat Wang, and if you succeed, I will impart to you the blazing feather dance and a breathing technique, declared Lauscher as Lang emerged from his room. I will crush him, master, Lang responded with a confident smile. Keep in mind that he is already in the initial breath-gathering stage, whereas you had not even started gathering qi. While you were training, I monitored the boy, and it seems he has undergone rigorous training as well, albeit under a master of mediocre prowess, Lauscher added with a self-satisfied smile. Even if you are prepared, never underestimate your adversary. Yes, master. Lang bowed in acknowledgement. The morning air carried a refreshing crispness as fall approached, causing the leaves to quiver in anticipation of their changing colors. Lang, now radiating with newfound confidence, strode purposefully towards Wang's residence. His heart beat steadily in his chest, a reflection of his inner determination. At the entrance gate, he inhaled deeply, the cool breeze filling his lungs as he declared with unwavering resolve, "Xiao Wang, I challenge you to a duel." Wang emerged from his dwelling, a malicious grin etched across his face. The sight of Lang's challenge seemed to amuse him greatly. Well, if it isn't the trash daring to raise his voice," Wang sneered, hoisting his wooden sword with a self-assured arrogance. "Looks like you're really desperate now. I won't leave until I've broken you, Tian Lang." Lang's silence was a testament to his newfound inner strength. He mirrored Wang's gesture, gripping his own sword firmly as a crowd began to gather in anticipation of the impending confrontation. "I accept your challenge, Tian Lang," Wang declared, leaping forward with an immediate attack. Lang's body moved with a newfound grace, a dance guided by his mentor's teachings. He skillfully evaded Wang's attack by a hair's breadth, retaliating with a swift slash that landed squarely on Wang's stomach. The bully staggered back, clutching his wounded abdomen with a mixture of anger and surprise. With a burst of energy, Lang executed the technique with precision, his sword connecting with Wang's chin, sending shockwaves through the bully's body. Wang crumbled to the ground, dazed and disoriented, a hint of blood staining his lips. "I'll fucking kill you." Wang's furious roar echoed across the yard as he staggered to his feet, his eyes wild and manic. Lang's movements were swift and calculated, each strike landing with pinpoint accuracy. Wang's resistance crumbled, his body collapsing into the dirt, unconsciousness claiming him. Some bystanders cheered at Lang's unexpected victory, while others turned away, perhaps unsettled by the ferocity of the duel. Wang's friends hurriedly assisted him back to his home, their glares searing with animosity directed towards Lang. "Master, I did it!" Lang's jubilant thoughts reverberated through Lauscher's mental connection. "Remember, defeating a weaker opponent doesn't necessarily make you stronger. This was a step, but the journey remains long," Lauscher cautioned. "I allowed this so you can bear a clear conscience. Now, let's head to the training grounds. There's much more to learn, and your execution can still improve." Lang bowed in humble acknowledgement to his mentor, their bond solidifying with each shared moment of growth. As they continued their path to the training grounds, Lang's determination remained unshaken, his heart set on the arduous road that lay ahead. As the sun traced its path across the sky, merely an hour into Lang and Lauscher's training, a new presence joined the scene. Wang, accompanied by his father, arrived with the latter emanating disapproval and anger. "You allowed yourself to be defeated by this mere kid?" Wang's father's voice held stern disappointment, his eyes fixed firmly on his son. Though Wang remained silent, the guilt etched across his face spoke volumes. "Go back home this instant and kneel in the corner as punishment for your foolishness." His reprimand was swift and uncompromising. Then, his gaze shifted towards Lang, features softening with a mixture of begrudging respect and acknowledgement. "I've heard you challenged my rather dense son and emerged victorious. Despite his lack of admission, you displayed true skill. A friend of mine who witnessed the spectacle mentioned your natural talent. Why not consider participating in the upcoming martial tournament hosted by the Jean family? It's a mere 2 weeks away. I am intending to send my own son, but you appear to hold better promise." "Thank you, sir. I will certainly take your advice and participate." Lang responded with a respectful bow, his gratitude evident. "Then I shall anticipate your presence at the tournament," Wang's father remarked before leaving, the atmosphere changing as he departed. It seems that Wang was a thorn in his own father's side as well. "Quite the revelation." Lauscher's voice chimed in with a hint of amusement. "But enough of that. Back to our training regimen. Today, I'll introduce you to a new sword technique called the blazing feather dance. However, mastering even the first level will be no small feat with only 2 weeks to learn its initial stage. I will put you under more pressure." Lauscher gripped the worn practice sword in his paw, infusing it with a minuscule amount of qi. With a series of swift strikes, he conjured flames that took the shape of fluttering feathers before vanishing. "Amazing!" Lang clapped in awe. "Now, let's try the first set. Follow my lead, and I'll demonstrate it slowly," advised the bunny as he commenced the set. Days melded into one another for Lang as the training seemed ceaseless, from dawn to dusk, yet each day he woke brimming with energy. Unbeknownst to the boy, Lauscher utilized his qi every night to aid in his muscle development and alleviate his pains. 12 days elapsed, and Lang had already mastered the initial stage of the blazing feather dance, although he couldn't produce flames just yet. He also incorporated meditation between sessions, practicing the ebony flame-breathing technique. Initially, it felt like an internal inferno, but after a few days, his body adapted to the unique pressure, propelling him to the initial stage of the breath-gathering stage. With a modest core of qi, he could enhance his attacks threefold before exhausting his energy. Tian Chao, Lang's father, occasionally joined the training sessions, providing both encouragement and a tangible reminder of familial support that fueled Lang's determination. Meanwhile, Lang's mother dedicated herself to preparing nourishing sustenance, ensuring that the aspiring martial artist was well-fueled for his rigorous training routine. While Lang blossomed into a martial genius, Lauscher's development resembled that of a formidable monster. He relentlessly pushed himself through the late stages of the breath-gathering stage, inching closer to the formidable Dantian formation, where internal qi transforms from a liquid to a solid state. This phase typically posed a challenging bottleneck requiring substantial power to overcome. Lauscher's rapid progress stemmed from his unique nature. He didn't need traditional training. A simple thought activated his skills at their peak, and, being a bunny, he decided to adopt the skills of the moon goddess Lyra from his favorite manga. Though with a low chi reserve, he could utilize these unique skills, albeit far from their true peak potential. Lang, my son. Tian Chao's voice resonated with a mixture of pride and fatherly concern as he handed over a bag brimming with essentials. Here is all you need for your journey and the tournament. I've also included some money so you can secure accommodations at an inn. Make your family proud and let your determination shine. Thank you, Father. Lang responded with a deep bow, his earnest gratitude evident in his eyes and respectful posture. With his bag slung over his shoulder and his heart full of purpose, he stepped away from the familiar embrace of his home, venturing towards the upcoming martial tournament with resolve burning in his chest. Chapter 3: Tournament. As Lang stood at the edge of his village, memories of his previous misadventures at the Hunters sect replayed in his mind. The weight of his past failures hung in the air, creating a stark contrast with the renewed determination that now fueled his steps. With a deep breath, he embarked on his journey, accompanied by the reassuring presence of Laoshi at his side. Guided by Laoshi, he had also learned the crescent moon flight, an advanced technique of great speed, ideal for covering great distances. Even the agile Laoshi found himself stretching to match Lang's rapid pace during their hours of uninterrupted running. It was midday when they sought respite beneath the cooling shade of a massive willow tree. Beneath the sprawling branches of the tree, sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating a mosaic of azure and gold that danced upon the ground. The leaves rustled softly in the breeze, accompanied by the rhythmic rise and fall of Lang's breaths as they gradually steadied. As Lang caught his breath, Laoshi pondered the unique attributes of this world, marveling at how Lang's stamina appeared to transcend human limitations. Is this a manifestation of the world's energy, or a testament to Lang's unyielding determination? Wondered Laoshi, his musings blending with the gentle rustle of leaves. Half an hour passed in the embrace of the willow's tranquility, offering Lang a chance to rejuvenate. Springing to his feet, he announced his readiness to continue their journey, his resolve igniting anew. Laoshi, the tireless mentor, introduced a fresh challenge. Prepare yourself, Lang, for I shall infuse this run with a touch of chi. Let's see if you can keep up. Laoshi burst into motion with a leap, his rapid strides generating a swirling cloud of dust behind him. Lang responded swiftly, though not without a playful protest. No fair, master. You caught me off guard. His laughter harmonized with the wind as he embarked on the chase. The landscape transitioned from the encompassing forest to open fields as they drew closer to Hubei, the forthcoming location of the martial tournament. The forest gave way to expansive stretches adorned with ripening rice paddies. The diligent laborers in the fields paused momentarily, their attention drawn to the spectacle of the two swift figures streaking through the landscape. In the midst of the golden fields, Lang's spirit burned brighter with each stride, propelling him toward the realization of his aspirations. Against the backdrop of ripening crops, the martial tournament beckoned, a stage where Lang's unwavering determination would intersect with the ambitions of others, each vying for glory in their own right. As they arrived in Hubei, their excitement from the journey was quickly dampened by the sight of a snaking line at the gate. The line extended far beyond their vision, making it impossible to even see the faces of the guards. I hate coming here every year. The line gets longer each time, grumbled an old man standing just ahead of them. Curious about the situation, Lang inquired, Sir, why is there such a long line? You don't know? It's the Jean family's tournament. I heard the winner gets 100 gold. Most people in line are martial artists coming to compete, the elder explained with a hint of annoyance. 100 gold? Lang gasped in disbelief. Don't be too amazed by it. Money has its uses in the beginning, but after a certain point, only spirit stones will be worth anything to you. Don't get too attached to such useless currency, advised Laoshi in Lang's mind. Time seemed to crawl as minutes turned into hours, and it was well into the late afternoon by the time they reached the gates. Did you come for the tournament? The guard asked Lang. Yes, sir. Lang confirmed. All right, that'll be 2 silvers for entry, the guard stated. What? I have to pay just to get into the city? Lang exclaimed in surprise. Yes, and if you keep holding up the line, I'll kick you out, the guard retorted irritably. Lang paid the fee and finally entered the bustling city of Hubei, which sprawled out before him with its countless busy streets and throngs of people going about their business. As their exhilarating run came to an end upon reaching Hubei, the lively spirit was quickly dampened by the sight that greeted them at the gate. A seemingly endless line snaked along the road, stretching so far that the faces of the guards stationed there were obscured from view. The city of Hubei stood in striking contrast to Lang's humble village. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, the city's grandeur seemed to intensify, casting a radiant glow upon its majestic pagodas and bustling bazaars. The roofs adorned with intricate designs shimmered in the fading light, while the polished red pillars seemed to reflect the sun's last rays. The city's splendor was a spectacle to behold. Navigating the wide streets proved challenging for Lang and Lauscher, with the constant flow of people making progress difficult. After narrowly avoiding several near-trampling incidents, Lauscher decided to perch atop Lang's head for safety. Upon reaching a tavern, they opted to rent a room for the night. Lang approached the counter with a polite greeting, only to be promptly interrupted by the man behind it. "We have no more rooms," the man curtly declared as his eyes swept over Lang and Lauscher. "You'll need to look elsewhere." Well, that was a swift rejection, though not entirely unexpected, Lauscher commented in Lang's thoughts. "We'll have to search for another inn," Lang replied with youthful determination. However, after encountering 6 more rejections, his enthusiasm began to wane. "According to the lady at the last inn, there's one more place where we might find a room," he informed Lauscher with a sense of resignation. The next inn, if it could even be called that, was a small, dilapidated building. The inn sign hung by a thread, its weathered rope barely holding on after years of wear and tear. Upon entering, they were greeted by a handful of unsavory faces, and Lang hesitantly approached the counter. Behind it stood a burly man with scars crisscrossing his face and arms. One of his eyes was a milky white, devoid of life, and his receding hairline gave him the appearance of being bald from the front. His tattered clothes bore witness to the trials of time, their original color obscured by dirt and grime. "What do you need, kid?" the man gruffly inquired, his gaze fixed on Lang. "I need a room, sir," Lang replied meekly. "1 silver a night, paid up front. And keep the fighting outside," the man demanded, pulling the coins Lang placed on the counter into his hand. "The 3rd room on the right," he added, his tone slightly softer. "Are you here for the tournament?" he asked, his gruff demeanor giving way to a hint of curiosity. "Yes, I am," Lang confirmed with a nod. "Make sure you don't get knocked out in the first round." "Wahahaha." The man slapped Lang's back heartily with his massive hand. "And what's the story with the bunny? It looks like a spirit beast." "Yes, sir. It's my contracted spirit beast. Don't worry. We won't cause any problems." Lang repeated the practice line that his master had agreed upon to explain their situation. "Boss, kid seems good. How about we do the usual?" asked a masked man in the corner. Many nodded in agreement, their intentions clear. "I don't know. We haven't seen him fight yet," the burly man replied cautiously. "I don't care. Let's do it right now." The man forcefully drove his knife into the table, sending shivers down Lang's spine. Mentally preparing himself for a confrontation, Lang's eyes widened as tension filled the room. "Who wants to bet on him, or against?" "Come on, guys, let's see." The masked man rallied others at his table, and coins began to pile up. Lang let out an audible sigh of apprehension. Even Lauscher, positioned on his head, appeared to brace for the potential altercation. "Don't mind them. We always have a few talented martial artists here, so we started a tradition. Although Ruhu never initiated it this early, he might have seen something in you. Let me know if you need anything," the burly man explained, his tone shifting slightly from caution to a more reassuring one. Lauscher perched above the tavern's guests in the main hall that night, concealing his presence on a ceiling beam. He overheard conversations about the demonic sect, which annually sent a disciple to the tournament and often emerged victorious. This fact didn't trouble him, but what followed did. The discussions turned toward betting on the demonic sect disciple potentially killing Lang or any other participant, an alarming trend in recent times. Disturbed by this revelation, Lauscher retreated to Lang's room and settled on the windowsill. Speaking under his whiskers, he reassured Lang, "Don't worry, I won't let you die. As my direct disciple, anyone daring to harm you will beg for a swift death." Satisfied that the surroundings were secure, Lauscher then began his meditation. The day of tournament registration arrived, and after indulging in a myriad of flavors in the bustling bazaar, Lauscher and Lang found themselves once again in line. The open tournament had attracted a substantial number of participants, and by midday, they finally reached the registration table. An elderly man scrutinized Lang. "Name?" he inquired. "Tian Lang." The boy responded promptly. "Best of luck in the 7th Rising Fire and Soaring Sky tournament. Here's your wooden plaque. Guard it well. Remember, spirit beasts aren't allowed to fight alongside their masters in the tournament," the elder informed them before swiftly moving on to the next participant. As they walked away, Lang examined the wooden plaque bearing the carved number 74. He cast a glance at the winding line, which still stretched far into the heart of the city. "If I'm number 74, there must be close to 200 participants in this tournament," Lang mused aloud. "Many of them won't make it through the preliminary rounds," Lauscher deduced, using his chi to assess the participants. Though his own internal energy was still on the low end, he could utilize the skills embedded in his mind. One such skill allowed him to peer at others' cultivations. Most warriors in the lineup had none or barely any chi. "Do you truly believe that, Master?" Lang inquired sincerely, but he soon realized that his question was superfluous upon glancing at Lauscher. He returned to his thoughts, reflecting on the fact that he had managed to refine the first and second forms of the blazing feather dance. After barely a month of intensive training under his master's guidance, his physical strength had significantly improved. Yet, despite his progress, his stomach churned with a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. After a while, they decided it was time to head back to their chosen tavern. As they entered, Lang once again found himself hearing his master's voice in his mind. "Considering their penchant for betting, why not wager all your silvers on yourself placing in the top 3? Lauscher suggested. "But master, if I do that and lose, we'll be left with nothing," Lang replied cautiously. "Do you doubt your master's instincts? Do you require another nudge from me? Just take the risk." Lauscher's insistence was clear. "Excuse me, can I place a bet?" Lang inquired aloud, addressing the lively atmosphere of the tavern. Following a brief pause, the room erupted in laughter. "Of course, young man, I appreciate your audacity." "Step forward," beckoned the masked man from his corner. "What's your wager?" "I'm betting that I'll make it into the top 3, and I'm placing 20 silvers on it," Lang declared, emptying the contents of his satchel onto the table. The masked man hesitated momentarily, then slid the money closer to him. "Bold move, kid. How about odds of 1 to 10 for this?" With unanimous agreement, more coins were added to the table. Leaning in, the masked man grinned. "Thanks to you, kid. Things just got a lot more interesting." Sighing, Lang returned to his room, his satchel now considerably lighter. With only a small amount of copper left in his purse, Lang realized it would hardly suffice for food throughout the duration of the tournament. Yet, this concern wasn't his primary focus at the moment. He spent the remaining hours of the day dedicated to intense training in his room, pushing himself to exhaustion before finally succumbing to sleep. "Incredible how much progress this kid has made," mused Lauscher to himself as he leaped out of the window, gracefully landing on the roof of a nearby building. His movements were as light as a feather, leaving no sound in his wake. Jumping from rooftop to rooftop, he finally made it to the edge of the city and landed outside the city walls with a soft thud. He felt an area close by filled with chi, so he quickly ran in that direction. There he found a cave with a bear still inside of it. "Well, sorry for the interruption, Yogi. I will take your place for a short while if you don't mind," he stated in his bunny language, disturbing the bear. At first, the big animal showed its teeth to Lauscher, but when the bunny released his chi pressure, the bear quickly retreated. There was a special reason why he came out tonight. For the last 2 days, he felt his bottleneck loosening, and now he was at the brink. With the Chirich cave, he pushed his spiritual energy into a mad circulation. Thanks to his godlike breathing technique, it did not take 10 minutes to break through. His core solidified and now was about the size of a dried rice seed. Its deep purple color lightened a singular tone, but still very dark. What surprised Lauscher was the changes outside. His petite bunny form grew considerably, and a singular golden dot appeared between his brows. Now he was able to do what he planned. Considering that demonic cults were able to send their disciples to this tournament, he did not want to gamble with his own disciple's life. "Since I've bonded with him, my strength has grown tremendously," Maybe being a bunny isn't so bad after all. Plus, I now possess more than enough chi to use the shadow thread movement. Concentrating for a brief moment, a black mist was all that remained where he had stood. Coming back to the city from roof to roof, he leaped with a speed far beyond mortal perception until he gracefully descended into the gardens of the Jean family. Identifying the largest structure, he swiftly dashed towards it, cleared his throat, and boldly proclaimed, "I wish to meet with the patriarch of the Jean family." One of the great new abilities his changed body allowed was speech. Lauscher smiled at the door and waited to be opened. A startled man opened the door, casting puzzled glances around him. "Who's there? Tai Pao?" A commanding voice resonated from within. "Sir, there's a talking rabbit here. Should I allow him in?" Tai Pao asked. "Let him in. If he's bold enough to come straight to my residence, I'll hear what he has to say." The patriarch of the Jean family, Jean Mukyung, loomed as imposing as a bear, his well-maintained beard adding an air of regality to his presence. Seated behind a table laden with paperwork, he glanced up as Lauscher entered, his face in mild interest. "I extend my respects to Jean Mukyung, patriarch of the Jean family. I am addressed as Lauscher for the time being." Lauscher cupped his rabbit paw. "A peculiar choice of moniker, though I presume you have your reasons for not using your true name," Mu replied with a slight smile. "I did not feel you enter through my formation array," he added. "It's a complicated matter, and I appreciate your understanding and not pressing further." Lauscher bowed slightly in acknowledgement. "As for that, there are several ways through the 8 snakes formation. Please take a seat." Mu gestured toward a cushion. "Pal, bring us some sake," he instructed his advisor before returning his attention to Lauscher. Mu was at this point convinced that a true master was sitting in disguise in front of him, for not only finding a fault with his formation, but naming it so casually. Though the mysterious master did not seem to come with any bad intentions, he decided to stay alert and try to be on his good side. "So, what prompts your visit at such a late hour? As a master who has guided his disciple to your tournament, I've heard rumors of fatalities in past years. I seek to ensure that my disciple won't be among them this time. Unfortunately, I had only a month to prepare him," Lauscher explained. "1 month?" Mu exclaimed, nearly spilling his sake. "That's hardly enough time for proper training. Indeed, within 2, I could have guaranteed his victory, but as it stands, I'm confident he can secure a spot in the top 3, Lauscher replied, sipping his sake. Mu paused, contemplating his words carefully before responding. "Perhaps it should be me bowing before you. Just who are you?" "Master Lauscher." "As I've mentioned, it's complicated." Lauscher took another sip before continuing. "But if I were to lose a potential disciple, the city of Hubei would cease to exist. I hope that when the time comes, you'll step in. Unfortunately, due to my unique situation, I'm unable to intervene personally." A bead of sweat formed on Mu's forehead as he nodded solemnly. "I am absolutely sure that can be avoided, but if you don't mind my question, why does your student even need to go through such a minor tournament?" "His name is Tianlong, barely 15 years old. The problem is that he is too complacent at the moment, and as such, he needs to see just how strong others are," Lauscher concluded, finishing his drink, rising, and bowing once more. "I'll take my leave now. I apologize if I've inconvenienced you. Oh, and if everything goes well, I will favor your family." "You are too good, Master Lauscher. Please, have a peaceful night." Mu returned the bow. As the door swung open, Lauscher executed his shadow thread movement, adding a theatrical flair to his exit. He allowed himself to stop only when he had returned to the familiar surroundings of the tavern, releasing a sigh of relief. Acting can be quite taxing, I swear. My heart felt ready to leap from my chest. What made me so audacious to concoct such an elaborate bluff? He leaned back against some ashingles, seeking a moment of respite. In terms of chi, he was running on fumes. To regain his composure, he returned to his room and initiated his customary chi meditation to fill up his meridians. Now at ease, Lang entered a spacious hall, its emptiness contrasting with the energetic chatter of a few young martial artists who were already present. "Hey, we've got another one who cleared both tests," one of them exclaimed, waving Lang over. "Join us. Is this where we await the start of the tournament?" Lang inquired. Indeed, despite the long line, only a handful made it through this time, but we're hoping for a more robust turnout this year. A monk-like boy named Tang replied. "Oh, where are my manners? I'm a junior from the Shaolin Temple, and my name is Tang. Hello, I'm Tian Long, and I'm a disciple of a wandering master." That's intriguing. Wandering masters aren't known for taking on disciples frequently. You're either very fortunate or quite the opposite, considering these masters deliberately avoid affiliating with sects for various reasons. Anyway, best of luck out there. Thanks. Same to you, Lang responded with a smile. What a peculiar individual, he mused to himself. After several hours of anticipation, the door continued to admit more and more participants, gradually filling the room until the count reached 28. At that juncture, the representatives of the Jin family made their entrance, with Jin Mu-kyung at the forefront. Congratulations to all of you who have successfully navigated the preliminaries, Mu declared with a hearty tone. Now, let me offer you a grand feast before the tournament commences. His applause signaled the arrival of a procession of maids, gracefully carrying plates laden with a tantalizing array of dishes. Soon, 2 full tables stood adorned with a rich assortment of delicacies. Lang's delight was palpable, realizing that this might be his final indulgence for the impending 5 days. Determined not to waste the opportunity, he diligently filled his stomach with as much delectable fare as he could manage. Once the plates had been cleared by the eager participants, they were guided to the sprawling gardens of the Jin family estate. There, a vast field lay enveloped by grandstands on 3 sides, while the 4th was adorned with a line of seats reserved for the competitors. The field itself was meticulously paved with colossal granite slabs, fitted so seamlessly that it appeared to have been hewn from a single monolithic block. The entirety of the combat grounds spanned approximately 1 in both length and width, rendering it an immaculate square. As each participant took their designated seats, the audience began to assemble in the grandstands. High-ranking families and representatives from various sects occupied the front rows, their anticipation palpable. The atmosphere crackled with energy and intrigue, casting a heightened sense of gravity over the forthcoming tournament. As the grandstands swelled with spectators, a resounding gong reverberated through the air, signaling the appearance of Jin Mu-kyung at the center of the granite-clad arena. With this announcement, I officially commenced the 7th Rising Fire and Soaring Sky Tournament. Mu's authoritative voice carried far and wide, rivaling even the most potent of loudspeakers. Let us now draw the names for the first 4 matches of today. Following his announcement, Mu stepped aside, and his advisor, Tai Pao, approached the competitors. Each participant drew a stick, most of which were unadorned, except for 4 pairs that bore distinctive colors: red, blue, yellow, and green. Lang's hand fell upon the green-tipped stick, indicating that he would be competing today. A mixture of excitement and anticipation churned within him, though he swiftly quelled the turmoil with a resolute thought. I am ready, as my master has affirmed. The initial bout featured a youthful spear wielder against a seasoned adult armed with a sword. While the man initially appeared to possess an advantage, the spear user deftly evaded every assault. Employing a precise sequence of movements, he incapacitated his adversary with a calculated series of strikes, leaving the man unconscious on the arena floor. The second contest proved far more enthralling, pitting a dual-blade practitioner, aged around 20, against a Shaolin disciple who entered unarmed. The dual-blade fighter launched a flurry of slashes, managing to wound the monk. However, the monk retaliated with a series of palm strikes targeting vital points. The encounter escalated further when the dual-blade user adopted a new stance, harnessing chi to unleash a gust toward the monk. Evading narrowly, the monk found himself sliced by the ensuing flurry of attacks. Clever maneuver. Using a showy diversion as a setup for a strategic assault, Mu acknowledged with a nod. I was about to voice the same observation, responded Laosher, who had joined Mu at his side. When did you arrive, Master Laosher? Mu inquired, surprised by the rabbit's presence. Just a moment ago, replied Laosher, offering Mu a gourd and a sake glass. As he filled the cup and handed it to Mu, he added, I'm quite eager to see the outcome. I concur. Mu agreed, attention fixated on the ongoing match, which exhibited remarkable equilibrium. After a protracted and grueling struggle, the Shaolin disciple emerged triumphant, albeit bearing multiple wounds. Medical attendants from the Jin family swiftly carried him off the field. Soon, Lang found himself stepping into the arena. Armed with a sword he had selected from the weapons rack, he awaited his opponent. The crowd's murmurs grew in intensity as a similarly aged contender took the opposite side of the arena, also brandishing a sword. Clad in expensive attire, he exuded an air of affluence. Awaiting your guidance, Tian Lang. Lang bowed respectfully. Tian Lang, please don't take this personally, but my objective in this tournament requires me to secure victory. Hence, I will not hold back, Waya declared. Aware of the reputation of the Hua family and their formidable martial skills, Lang couldn't help but lament his luck at being paired with such a formidable adversary. As the resonating gong marked the commencement of the duel, both participants lunged forward, igniting a mesmerizing flurry of blade clashes that generated sparks as they met. Their rapid exchanges of blows created a spectacle of motion and sound, and following the initial collision, they swiftly retreated, each carefully assessing their adversary's strengths and vulnerabilities. Why does he seem so sluggish? What's the matter, Lang? Lauscher's voice held a tinge of disappointment. Whatever do you mean? Given his age, this should be a remarkable performance. He's even on par with a genius from the Hua family. Mo offered his perspective. No, no, no. I've taught him better than this, Lauscher grumbled, his gaze unyielding on the unfolding battle. Having crossed swords with you thrice already, Lang found himself perplexed by the encounter. An internal debate raged within him as he pondered when you would finally unveil his true capabilities. I'm not here to play games. Should I conclude this swiftly? Lang contemplated momentarily. With a determined resolve, he closed his eyes for a brief second, then unleashed the power of the crescent moon strides, propelling himself across the distance in a mere heartbeat. Employing the newly acquired blazing feather dance technique, he executed a sequence of fluid and precise movements. The result was disarmed and incapacitated, incapable of even reacting to Lang's agile assault. This is the outcome after just a month of training? Jin Mu-kyung regarded Lauscher with astonishment, admiration painting his features. Yes, I exerted my utmost effort, but Lang's innate talent was equally instrumental in his swift progress. I could give you a good breathing technique if you wish so that the Jin family could grow stronger too, Lauscher replied, his earlier disappointment giving way to a more composed demeanor. Taking a hearty swig from the gourd in his paw, he expressed a sense of quiet satisfaction at the sight of Lang's triumph. Jin Mu-kyung did not dare to ask such a treasure, yet his heart ached to do so. Waya, his astonishment barely subdued and reality slowly sinking in, departed the field with a sense of defeat that hung heavy in the air. The crowd seemed suspended in a moment of incredulity, struggling to keep pace with the swiftness of Lang's victory. As a few measured breaths of time passed, a tidal wave of applause surged forth, enveloping Lang in an uproarious ovation. He humbly bowed, acknowledging the crowd's fervor, and then reclaimed his seat with a sense of achievement that was tangible. An impressive display indeed, remarked a youth of roughly 16 beside Lang, rising to his feet. Let us hope that our paths lead us to a clash only in the finals. His eyes, bloodshot and complexion pallid, spoke of a formidable inner strength, evoking an unsettling sensation that even Lang, from a distance, could feel like a chilling current racing up his spine. Subsequent to this exchange, a black-clad figure stepped onto the arena, and with the resounding toll of the gong, dispatched his adversary with a single, precise blow to the torso. The fallen contender, bloodied and gasping, crumpled to his knees, and as the medics swiftly intervened to escort him away, a grim reminder of the tournament's stakes echoed within the arena. Why do they persist in sending individuals like him to this tournament? Jin Mu-kyung lamented, his tone tinged with frustration. It appears he employs a technique of dubious origin, perhaps even one with demonic associations. Is this region not within the boundaries of the Alliance territory? Questioned Mo. Indeed, it is. However, we find ourselves situated on the fringes of the Central Plains, thereby necessitating a pragmatic approach to our dealings. As a merchant family, we must navigate the precarious balance between both sides, explained Mu. That is a precarious position to occupy, cautioned Lauscher. I am well aware. Yet, in this geographical context, survival hinges upon adaptation to prevailing circumstances, Mu replied, conveying the weight of a complex reality shaped by the region's exigencies. As the sun's golden hues deepened into the twilight of evening, the first day of the tournament concluded, leaving the spectators and participants with a mingling of anticipation and satisfaction. Jin Mukyung ascended a raised platform at the heart of the granite arena, his commanding presence silencing the bustling crowd. With a sweep of his arm, he beckoned for the assembled to quiet their voices. Esteemed families, honorable sects, and valiant participants. His voice resonated with gravitas, commanding the attention of all. I stand before you, humbled by the display of martial prowess exhibited on this first day of the 7th Rising Fire and Soaring Sky tournament. Each combatant, in their own right, has showcased dedication and courage, and it is this spirit that we celebrate and honor. A chorus of applause rippled through the grandstands, affirming Jin Mukyung's sentiment. Let us recognize not only the victors, but also those who fought valiantly in the face of formidable challenges. As the tournament unfolds over the course of the next 4 days, let our collective aspirations for growth, unity, and camaraderie guide us. We, as the Jin family, extend our gratitude to the participants for gracing our arena with their skills, to the audience for their fervent support, and to the tradition that binds us all. The crowd erupted in a final round of applause, echoing their appreciation for Mukyung's words. As the arena began to empty, Lang and Lauscher made their way back to the tavern, their conversation weaving between reflections on the day's events and thoughts on the battles yet to come. "Master, that fight with Waya was more intense than I anticipated," Lang remarked. "Indeed, it was a well-matched contest. You displayed skill and quick thinking," Lauscher commended, his pride evident, but something felt off about him. His movements were extraordinary, yet he lacked a certain sincerity, Lang pondered aloud. "A keen observation," acknowledged Lauscher, "but don't be quick to judge. There could be more to his actions than meets the eye. I don't understand why he didn't take it seriously," Lang confessed, his brow furrowing in confusion. Lauscher chuckled softly and gave Lang a light smack on the back of his head. "Kid, let me enlighten you. Waya did take it seriously, but the difference in strength and skill between the two of you is quite significant. Sometimes, even with all the seriousness in the world, the outcome is clear due to such disparities." Lang's eyes widened, static at the realization of just how strong Waya actually was. "Remember, humility is as important as skill in martial arts," Lauscher advised, a playful glint in his eyes. "Now, don't let your head get too big. Stay focused and grounded, and continue to give your best." Lang rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. "You're right, Master. I'll keep that in mind. That's the spirit," Lauscher grinned. "Now, let's grab a meal and rest up for the challenges that lie ahead." Upon entering the tavern, the master and disciple were greeted by a resounding cheer, a testament to the impressive performance Tianlong had delivered in the tournament. Many of the guests enthusiastically approached, congratulating him and shaking his hand, their admiration palpable in their words and gestures. "That was some amazing technique out there, boy," the masked man exclaimed, his excitement evident as he waved the kid over. He pulled out a chair for Lang to sit, extending an invitation to join their jovial company. "I will be in our room, disciple. Have fun." Lauscher's message echoed in Tianlong's mind as the rabbit retreated to their accommodations. The room was a place of comfort and solitude for the sage, a space where he could relax and observe from a distance. As Lauscher entered the room, he immediately sensed an unfamiliar presence. His instinct guided him, and with a swift surge of chi, he slid the door open to reveal a mysterious figure seated on the mattress. The woman was shrouded in black attire, her face concealed behind a mask. "And you are?" Lauscher's inquiry was marked by curiosity and an underlying wariness. The woman's gaze flickered from the rabbit to the satchel she had placed on the mattress, flinging it toward him as if to strike a bargain. "Make your disciple resign. And this is yours." Her voice carried through the mask, muffled but laced with an edge. Lauscher glanced at the satchel briefly before kicking it back, an unspoken refusal to engage in whatever exchange she had in mind. "Try someone else. We won't back down." His words resounded with determination, his posture unwavering. "Are you sure? Do you not value the life of your disciple?" The woman's tone remained cool, a reflection of her resolve. "And do you value yours? The demonic sect you hail from must be desperate to win and maintain their unbroken streak of victories." How about skill determines the victor? Lauscher's retort held a mixture of challenge and a sense of justice. You can't say we did not try to be amicable, but so be it, Master Lauscher. With a succinct acknowledgement, she leaped out of the window, leaving behind an air of mystery and intrigue. Great, now I am sure this is going to be fun. Lauscher's grin conveyed his anticipation for the challenges ahead. Let the best win. As the night grew colder, Lauscher's restlessness prompted him to explore the streets, driven by both boredom and curiosity. The city held its own secrets in the quiet of the night. The guards patrolled with torches, casting dancing shadows on the cobblestones. A few felines darted around, seeking their own nocturnal adventures, while beggars and inebriated individuals found solace against the walls. However, it was in an unassuming alley that his attention was drawn by a peculiar disturbance in chi. Approaching cautiously, he discovered a blue bird, its wing broken and body exhausted from its desperate attempts to fly. Covered in mud and drained of energy, the bird struggled to use its chi to flap its wings in futile endeavors. Calm down, little one. This master is going to help. Lauscher projected his soothing thoughts toward the bird, his intent to provide aid emanating from his being. Yet, instead of responding, the bird surrendered to its injury, succumbing to unconsciousness as it fell. Although Lauscher had no formal medical training, he drew upon fragmented memories from his previous life. Countless hours spent watching instructional videos to address the broken wing of the injured bird. Returning to their room, he found his disciple deep in slumber, affording him the solitude to tend to the avian guest. Opting for the roof, he carefully cradled the fragile creature in his paws, his every move delicate and deliberate. Guided by his limited knowledge, he meticulously aligned the fragmented bones of the bird's wing, creating a makeshift splint from cloth to maintain the position. Ensuring its comfort, he cocooned it in warm fabrics before initiating his customary chi circulation, channeling the energy toward the creature in an attempt to aid its recovery. Master, what is a bird doing in my clothes? Lang's voice carried a mix of confusion and curiosity, pulling him from his concentration. Surprised by his disciple's sudden appearance, Lauscher leaped from the windowsill, his movements light and graceful. I found it. If it survives its injury, it could prove useful to us. Lang's eyes lit up with excitement. Is it a spirit beast? Lauscher nodded, a knowing smile tugging at his lips. Indeed, it is. Though I fear it used its innate chi and suffered internal injuries, the boy's countenance shifted to one of somber understanding. I see, he acknowledged, a hint of disappointment lingering. I will stay with it. Go eat something and meet me at the tournament, Lauscher directed as he carefully lifted the injured bird. Yes, master. Lang bowed with respect before hurrying off to fulfill his master's request. With the young disciple out of sight, Lauscher communicated his thoughts to the wounded creature, opening a telepathic connection. The boy is gone. You can stop acting now. Why? Why do you help me? The bird's voice resonated within his mind, a trace of feminine curiosity coloring its words. I want you to follow me as your master. Simple as that, Lauscher replied, his mental tone conveying a sense of calm assurance. You are weak, not worthy, the bird chirped defiantly. Undeterred, Lauscher proposed a challenge. So if I prove my strength, would you accept me as your master? As if you can. But yes, the bird acquiesced, its voice a mixture of skepticism and curiosity. Yet, when Lauscher took Lang's wooden practice sword and channeled his chi inside, forming a visible sword intent, however, he did not stop there, and in a mere second, he had unity with the sword. The bird instinctively recoiled, its tiny form shrinking back as it experienced the overwhelming pressure. Master, how could I have not noticed your greatness? I will follow you through fire and ice, the bird declared. Its tone transformed from skepticism to reverence, its loyalty pledged. Much better. From now on, I'll call you Ju. How's your wing feeling? Lauscher inquired gently. It doesn't hurt anymore, but it's a bit numb. Master, Lu responded, still grappling with her amazement at the rabbit's capabilities. To be saved by another spirit beast, and willingly accept it as her master was an improbable turn of events. I almost feel like I'm in a dream, she murmured to herself. Lauscher's next words brought her back to the present. Wait here. I'll get you something to eat and then head off to the tournament." As Lauscher left to gather sustenance, Lu settled in, her thoughts swirling with the magnitude of what had transpired. The events had unfolded so quickly, yet the bond between them seemed to strengthen with each passing moment. When Lauscher returned with a selection of fruits, Lu's heart swelled with gratitude. As she nibbled on the offerings, she watched him leave for the arena, his figure disappearing from view. Master Lauscher, fashionably late again. Just like yesterday? Jin Mu-kyung's voice echoed as he welcomed Lauscher finally arrived and took his seat. "I had a few matters to attend to. Have I missed the first match?" Lauscher inquired. "No, not yet," Mu-kyung replied, gesturing toward the participants who were in the process of drawing their match sticks. This day, Lang's role was that of a spectator, observing the remaining pairs throughout the day. The fights unfolded with a sense of deliberate intensity, each martial artist showcasing their skills in meticulous detail. Time seemed to melt away as the spectators became fully absorbed in the unfolding battles. Only one participant appeared to be uninterested, the enigmatic black-clad martial artist from the demonic sect. As the day drew to a close, and the second day's proceedings were wrapped up, Lang rushed to his master's side. "If I'm being honest, the only opponent who seems truly formidable is that black-clothed kid. You have a keen sense, and I agree. Although the remaining participants are skilled, your technique set you apart from most of them. However, you should be especially cautious if you find yourself pitted against that particular individual," Lauscher cautioned. "I'll keep that in mind, Master," Lang affirmed with a bow. "Master Lauscher, if you would honor me, I would like to extend an invitation to you tonight," Mu-kyung interjected. "I humbly accept," Lauscher responded with a bow. Turning to Lang, he instructed, "Tian Lang, I might be a bit late, so take this time to practice before you retire for the night." The Jin family estate sprawled across acres of land, a tranquil oasis nestled within the bustling city. The moment one approached its gates, the gaze was drawn upwards to the majestic arch that spanned the entrance. The dragon, carved with meticulous precision, coiled and soared above the gate. Its outstretched wings seemed ready to take flight, its eyes gazing down upon all who dared to cross the threshold. Crafted from the heart of a single, ancient leaning tree, the dragon's body bore intricate details that were a testament to the craftsmanship of generations past. The swirls and whirls of the wood captured the essence of wind and movement, giving the dragon an almost lifelike quality. The scales that adorned its form were individually etched, creating a sense of texture and depth that seemed to shift as the sunlight danced upon them. Every curve and contour of the dragon's body told a story, a narrative of strength, wisdom, and protection. As one passed beneath the dragon's arch, a sense of reverence washed over them. The entrance opened up to a courtyard enveloped by lush gardens that burst with vibrant colors and delicate fragrances. Flowers of every shade adorned the landscape, a symphony of nature's beauty that complemented the serenity of the estate. Paved walkways meandered through the gardens, guiding visitors past elegant koi ponds and meticulously manicured bonsai trees. The main building stood as a grand testament to the family's heritage. Its deep blue and white colors exuded an air of sophistication and nobility, a contrast to the vivid hues of the city beyond its walls. Intricately carved eaves and ornate windows adorned the exterior, each embellishment a nod to the family's status and influence. As the heart of the estate, this building held the secrets, the traditions, and the aspirations of generations. Passing through the main building led to a pavilion nestled in a secluded corner of the estate. Here, maids bustled about, arranging platters of delicate pastries, fragrant teas, and refreshing fruit. The gentle babbling of a nearby stream provided a soothing soundtrack to the ambience, adding a touch of natural harmony to the scene. The pavilion's design echoed that of the main building, with its deep blue accents and intricate patterns creating a sense of unity and cohesion. Surrounding the pavilion, the tranquil gardens continued their embrace. Stone pathways wound through groves of bamboo, creating pockets of shade and serenity. Ornamental bridges spanned over gracefully flowing streams, while decorative lanterns dotted the landscape, their soft glow illuminating the pathways during the evening hours. At the heart of the estate, a serene pond reflected the beauty of the surroundings. A meticulously maintained miniature island stood within the water, graced with a small pagoda that seemed to bridge the gap between earth and sky. It was here that the Jean family could find solace, a space where they could connect with nature and their lineage. In the midst of a bustling city, the Jean family estate was a haven of tranquility and tradition. Its architecture, gardens, and the watchful dragon above the gate stood as a testament to the family's legacy, their values, and the strength that had carried them through generations of challenges and triumphs. Lao Shi settled into a plush seat placed before Mu Kyung, a deliberate air of formality enveloping their interaction. As the maids gracefully departed with their trays, a sense of anticipation hung in the air, underscored by the clinking of porcelain cups and the soft rustle of silk. The patriarch leaned forward, a smile playing at the corners of his lips as he filled a cup with sake and extended it to Lao Shi. As you're well aware, he began in a measured tone, my family's enterprise revolves primarily around silk and medicine, with the latter contributing significantly to our revenues. However, the Li Consortium, backed by the insidious Ebonfire cult, has been encroaching on our territory. They've been a thorn in our side, year after year, sending their own prodigy to challenge us. Lao Shi's response was an understanding smile, his eyes glinting with intrigue. I believe I can discern the direction of our conversation, he said. You're seeking a way to eliminate this threat without drawing undue attention to your family. Mu Kyung's smile widened, a flicker of approval in his eyes as he reclined comfortably. He raised his cup in a silent toast before taking a sip. Their conversation flowed seamlessly, a symphony of shared intent and careful choices of words. You are a master of remarkable skill, Mu Kyung continued, his gaze unwavering. What can the Jean family offer in exchange for your assistance in handling this situation? Lao Shi leaned in, his expression focused and thoughtful. I propose a new set of high-quality garments for my disciple, along with 10 gold taels and a set of your finest breathing pills. A barely perceptible nod from Mu Kyung sealed the deal. A piece of paper emerged from the folds of his clothing, offering a trio of locations that required attention. Alongside it, a talisman was presented, a silent assurance that Lao Shi could count on an escape route should circumstances turn dire. Curiosity lingered in the air for a moment, unspoken yet palpable. Lao Shi paused, his gaze locking with Mu Kyung's for a beat. You might wonder why I'm willing to undertake this task for what might seem like a modest compensation, he mused, a wry smile touching his lips. Mu Kyung's brows arched, a mixture of intrigue and respect in his expression. I did consider it, but your words have given me the sense that there's more to this situation than meets the eye. A knowing nod from Lao Shi confirmed the intuition. Rest assured, should the need arise, I will share the broader context with you. However, for now, it's best that some pieces of the puzzle remain hidden. Their unspoken pact was sealed, and as the night deepened, they indulged in the pleasures of camaraderie and fine spirits. The exchange flowed freely, laughter echoing in the dimly lit space. As the clock ticked away, Mu Kyung finally excused himself to retire for the evening, leaving Lao Shi to contemplate the intricate dance of martial prowess, politics, and secrecy that awaited him in the coming days. The morning's embrace was tinged with hues of delicate lavender as Lao Shi arrived at the tavern, a silent observer of the first light chasing away the darkness. The distant crowing of roosters echoed through the air, welcoming the new day even as Lang slumbered on, wrapped in the peaceful realm of dreams. With a practiced grace, the bunny master leaped through the window, his landing a silent waltz upon the floor. Jiao, the once injured blue bird, stirred awake at the sound of his arrival, her keen eyes meeting his as she greeted him. Morning, Master Lao Shi, she offered in a soft voice, a gesture of gratitude lacing her words. I owe my improved condition to your kindness. I'm glad to hear that, Lao Shi responded with a nod of acknowledgement, his demeanor both gentle and composed, the image of a watchful guardian. At the sound of his master's voice, Lang's eyes fluttered open, greeting the new day with a mix of reluctance and curiosity. Isn't it a tad early, master? He inquired, his voice still heavy with sleep. A smile played upon Lao Shi's lips as he countered. Not at all. Rise and dress, my young disciple. Today's breakfast is your choice. Lang was taken aback by the offer, his voice touched with surprise. Are you certain? I mean, I only have enough money left for a couple of days' worth of rice. In response, a glint of silver caught the sunlight as it gracefully landed on Lang's lap, embodying the master's benevolent insistence. Consider it my treat. A nourishing meal will serve you better in the arena. With the encouragement of his master's words and the weight of the silver tail, Lang swiftly dressed and embarked upon his morning routine of exercises, his determination an echo of his mentor's teachings. Before long, he was off to feast upon a well-deserved breakfast. Gio, however, couldn't help but observe the exchange with a mixture of curiosity and amusement. "Where did you acquire money so early in the day?" she inquired, her head tilting inquisitively. Lauscher leaned back, his gaze playful as he shared, "I was extended an invitation to partake in a night of revelry. My host was generous enough to allow me to depart with a full bottle of spirits, which I subsequently sold." Gio's eyes danced with amusement, though a hint of mischief colored her voice. "And here I thought you were pilfering from some unsuspecting soul." A stern glance from Lauscher silenced the playful banter, his voice carrying a hint of reprimand. "Never jump to conclusions about your master's actions, even in jest. Now, if you'll excuse me, I shall meditate." With that, he settled into a calm contemplation, his chi ebbing and flowing with the rhythm of the world, drawing a clear boundary around their exchange. With the jingling of the silver tail, Lang traversed the bustling streets in search of a place to satiate his appetite. The intoxicating aroma of sweet and sour chicken wafted through the air, a tempting melody to his senses. Following his nose, he discovered a new establishment that had only just opened its doors, its interior sparsely populated with a handful of patrons. Eagerly, he claimed a seat and placed his order for a generous portion of the tantalizing dish. As he waited, a familiar figure approached, none other than Waya, his adversary from the initial rounds of the tournament. Politeness mingled with curiosity in Ya's inquiry. "May I join you?" Of course, Lang acquiesced with a nod, offering a hospitable gesture to his fellow martial artist. "You were truly exceptional in our match. I could barely touch you. Pray, who is the master guiding your skills?" Ya queried, genuine admiration infusing his words. Lang, ever mindful of humility, responded modestly, "Thank you, but there's still much I must learn. My master is enigmatic, to say the least. He goes by the name Master Lauscher." An earnest glint entered Ya's eyes as he asked, "Do you think there's a possibility he'd take me under his wing?" Lang considered the question, his thoughts tracing the path to his mentor's guidance. "I can't say for certain, but I will inquire on your behalf." Ya lowered his head in gratitude, leaving a small satchel on the table as a token of appreciation. "It's a meager offering, but please accept it. I'll remain at this inn until the tournament concludes. Seek me here," with his response. With that, he made his exit, leaving Lang stunned by the unexpected gift. A satchel, holding a small fortune in silver, enough to indulge in luxurious meals for days. Having satisfied his hunger with succulent chicken, Lang's excitement urged him to sprint back to the tavern where Lauscher awaited. The bunny master's meditation came to a halt upon Lang's return, his focused demeanor shifting to curiosity. "Back so soon, my disciple?" Lang eagerly recounted the encounter, and Lauscher paused to listen attentively. As the tale concluded, the rabbit's thoughts brimmed with restlessness, the rhythm of his meditation disrupted by the intrigue of the task at hand. "I will think about it, Lang. For now, let's focus on the tournament." He turned his head to the bird Gia. He addressed the bluebird, his voice tinged with urgency. "I need you to gather information. These 3 locations are noted here. Scout their defenses, understand their layouts, and return to me by afternoon." Gio accepted the task with a nod, taking the paper that held the locations. With a powerful flap of her wings, she took to the sky, a distant silhouette against the azure expanse as she embarked on her reconnaissance mission. With a sense of familiarity drawn from stories and tales he had encountered, Lauscher understood that locations like these, seemingly affiliated with demonic sects, often held vulnerabilities that could be exploited. The audacity of those who dared to challenge such formidable powers often bordered on foolishness. Yet, his perspective differed from conventional wisdom. He saw the forthcoming encounter as a divergence between him and the demonic sect. It was imperative to strike first, and even more crucial to execute this plan without rousing their suspicion. During the span of recent days, as his body rested and his mind entered meditative states, Lauscher's thoughts had been meticulously sifting through a reservoir of memories from his past life. A multitude of martial arts techniques and combat strategies flowed through his consciousness, forming an intricate mosaic of knowledge. While his core energy was still undergoing development, rendering some of these techniques beyond his immediate grasp, he embarked on a comprehensive mental cataloging process, meticulously arranging each technique in its rightful place. A wistful sigh escaped him, accompanied by a rueful smile. How I wish for a system or a guiding presence akin to the ones so frequently found in the realms of manga. Nevertheless, I'm already blessed with more than I could have hoped for in this world. I've even retained the memory of crafting pills, Lauscher reflected, a sense of empowerment coursing through him as he contemplated the depths of his newfound expertise. The third day of the tournament dawned with a burst of colorful fireworks, announcing the commencement of battles for the remaining participants. Gathered in the arena, they stood in a line, anticipation radiating from their poised forms. This time, an urn held not mere sticks, but numbered tags that would not only determine their fight partners, but also dictate the sequence of matches to come. Amid this atmosphere of heightened tension, Lang reached into the urn and drew a tag bearing the number 2. Settling into his seat, he observed as those who had drawn tags with the number 1 took the field. The first clash unfolded between Jiruya, a youthful wielder of the spear, and Tang, hailing from the esteemed Shaolin Temple. Tang's movements flowed with a grace that eluded the spear's attempts to ensnare him, showcasing a proficiency that seemed to have grown since his earlier bout. Within a short span, Jiruya conceded defeat, dropping his spear in acknowledgement of Tang's victory. In the subsequent match, Tian Lang found himself squaring off against Li Jiao, both of them skilled swordsmen. Jiao assumed an aggressive stance, launching a series of assaults. However, Lang's keen observation of his opponent's technique allowed him to evade these calculated strikes with calculated precision. Yet, something was awry. The impact of Jiao's blows possessed an uncanny weight, as if he were dueling against a seasoned warrior. Lauscher nudged Mu Kyung subtly, drawing his attention. Is that young man from the Li Consortium? There's a distinct change in his approach. His technique was fluid before, but now it's erratic. Yes, I've also noticed the shift, though it doesn't appear too out of the ordinary. What's on your mind? Inquired the patriarch. I suspect he might have consumed a strength-enhancing pill. After the match, it might be prudent to test him for traces of pill usage. My intuition tells me he's seeking an unfair advantage, the rabbit suggested, his knowing smile underlying his wisdom. Should we halt the fight then? If a mere pill can challenge my disciple's prowess, I would question my cultivation. Let's see how this unfolds, Lauscher grinned, nodding towards the ongoing match, where Jean Li was sprawled on the unyielding granite. Despite the difference, Lang still overpowered the Li family disciple with a quick side blow with the flat of his sword, sending the participant across the field. Breathing heavily, he bowed before Lauscher. See, I told you to wait it out, smiled the rabbit to Mu. Agreeing, Mu Kyung whispered a few words to his advisor, and Li Jiao was escorted off the field by Jin family personnel, his participation curtailed. The subsequent matches that followed weren't as balanced. Wei Ling, a master of the glaive, emerged victorious with an impressive lead, while Zhao Feng, hailing from the demonic cult, had a forfeit in his favor when his opponent chose not to engage. A grueling battle of fists ensued between Lin Xian and Chen Tao, the contenders seemingly evenly matched. Ultimately, Chen Tao emerged victorious by a slender margin, his triumph hard-fought. The spotlight shifted to the twins, Wei Ming and Wei Ling, as they found themselves pitted against each other. Both wielding swords, their duel took on the quality of a choreographed dance, their techniques mirroring one another. In the end, Wei Ling secured the win, and her brother, Wei Ming, albeit with a rueful smile, paid her homage with a bow. The final showdown of the day unfolded between Lei Hu and Xiao Wu. Armed with a great sword, Lei Hu projected brute strength, whereas the graceful Xiao Wu wielded a fan with elegance. Lauscher leaned towards Mu Kyung, a playful challenge in his gaze. Care to place a wager? My bet is on Xiao Wu. Mu Kyung considered this for a moment, weighing his options. I'm skeptical. I'd lean towards Lei Hu due to his raw power. I'm confident in my choice. How about we put 5 silvers on it? I believe Xiao Wu's potential will shine through, Lauscher proposed, his wager rooted in a strategic purpose. He recalled her exceptional martial technique that defied expectations, employing qi in an intricate manner, while Lei Hu appeared to rely more heavily on brute strength. Agreed. Let's make things interesting, Mu Kyung nodded, sealing their wager with a handshake. As the fight between Lei Hu and Xiaowu commenced, it initially seemed that Lei Hu held the upper hand with relentless aggression. However, Xiaowu astounded the audience by swiftly transitioning to a dynamic, offense-oriented stance. Utilizing her fan, she unleashed a torrent of wind that slashed her opponent, her fluid movements betraying the precision of her techniques. The gusts sent Lei Hu sprawling out of the arena, leaving Mu Kyung in stunned amazement and Lao Shi nodding in affirmation. The exchange of silvers sealed their bet's outcome, and as Mu Kyung left to conclude the day with a speech, his head shook in a mixture of disbelief and acceptance. As the triumphant 7 winners stood in a line, Jin Mu Kyung raised his arm, a beacon of authority and gratitude, to address the assembled audience and participants. His voice resonated through the arena as he extended his thanks for the exceptional displays witnessed throughout the day's battles. The applause that erupted in response was thunderous, an ovation that enveloped the space, acknowledging the martial prowess and courage on display. Amid this reverberating clapping, Lao Shi courteously excused himself and guided his steps toward the exit, Lang trailing beside him. Master, Lang's voice carried a note of frustration. I can't help but feel that I've only faced opponents who lack the strength to challenge me. Lao Shi's response was measured and reassuring. Patience, my disciple. Tomorrow, you shall encounter tougher battles that will put your skills to the test. But before then, I intend to impart a new technique to you. You have this afternoon to practice it. The words hung in the air, met with skepticism. Master, I understand the value of diligent training, but acquiring a new technique in such a short span seems implausible, Lang admitted, his doubt evident. The rabbit's eyes twinkled with a knowing glint. You underestimate yourself, Lang. The technique I have in mind is not entirely new to you. It's the second stage of the blazing feather dance. Astonishment crossed Lang's features as the words sank in. But you've always said that I wasn't prepared for it, that it was premature. Lao Shi's smile was warm, embodying both pride and assurance. Times change, and so do you. You've grown, developed, and honed your skills. Today, you're ready. Anticipation sparked in Lang's eyes, like the glint of a blade freshly sharpened. Master and disciple walked side by side, reaching their familiar haven, the tavern. The doors swung open, and the boisterous cheer that greeted their entrance was music to their ears. The tavern's patrons, ever supportive, acknowledged their return with enthusiastic applause, affirming their presence as integral members of this spirited community. With unwavering determination, Lang's initial smile of delight transformed into a fierce expression of resolute intent. The technique Lao Shi demonstrated before him was a new challenge, unlike any he had encountered thus far. The complex sequences of movements required a precision and fluidity that pushed the boundaries of his skills. However, there was no room for hesitation or self-doubt. The tournament awaited, and Lang was on a steep learning curve. Sweat formed rivulets that trickled down his furrowed brow. His muscles tensed and trembled, but he forged ahead. As Lang moved through the demanding routine, his breath came in labored gasps, his chest heaving with exertion. 2 sets in, his strength wavered, and his wooden practice sword slipped from his grasp, clattering to the ground. Yet, Lao Shi's unwavering voice cut through the haze of fatigue, commanding him to continue. Again, the rabbit instructor demanded with unyielding resolve, his tone a mix of sternness and encouragement. Lang gathered every ounce of his remaining energy, rising to his feet and taking his stance anew. With sweat-soaked determination, he followed his master's lead, repeating the intricate movements time and time again. Each swing of the sword, each pivot of his body, sent waves of pain through his limbs. But amidst the physical strain, a fire of determination blazed within him, refusing to be extinguished. The inevitable moment arrived when Lang's body finally protested, his strength drained to its limits. Collapsing to his knees, he cast an exhausted smile upward, hearing the words he longed for. You passed. The culmination of his relentless efforts led to this affirmation, even as he succumbed to the overwhelming fatigue. Lang's descent to the ground was softened by a tender embrace, though he was too far gone to discern its nature. Lauscher, the steady guiding presence, caught him before he met the floor. Gently positioning the weary disciple, Lauscher placed his paws upon Lang's back, his touch serving as a conduit for healing energy. The hour was late, the minutes inching closer to the stroke of midnight. There was an urgency in Lauscher's actions, for time was a precious commodity. As Lang had dedicated himself to mastering the new technique, so did Lauscher now channel his focus. His chi flowed with purpose, seeking out Lang's body, offering solace to aching muscles, easing tension, and rejuvenating his vitality. Long hours were spent in this silent exchange, the room illuminated only by the pale light of the moon filtering through the window. Lauscher's determination mirrored Lang's earlier exertions as he channeled his energy, tending to his devoted disciple. It was a labor of love, the rabbit master's unwavering dedication manifesting in every meticulous movement of his chi. The air was still when Lauscher finally exhaled, the weight of his efforts settling in the quiet room. Gently, he laid Lang upon his bed, his breathing even, his expression peaceful. The bunny stood beside the bed for a moment, his eyes surveying the young warrior in training before him. "You've done well, my young disciple," Lauscher whispered, his voice a soft caress of reassurance. With a final glance, he left Lang to his rest and turned to the windowsill. The night remained his companion, the steady rhythm of his breathing exercise lulling him into a meditative state as the hours slipped past, one by one, until the dawn. A burst of exuberant energy escaped Lang's lips, shattering the room's tranquility and disturbing Lauscher's focused concentration. The outburst was met with swift retribution, a firm chop to the head that promptly silenced Lang's enthusiasm. "Control your volume, young disciple. Disturbing my concentration is not a trivial matter," Lauscher admonished, his stern words carrying a playful undertone. Despite his surface annoyance, a sense of pride and happiness shimmered in his eyes, visible even beneath his facade of irritation. Lang's grin remained resolute, a testament to his elation. The palpable thrill coursing through him was undeniable, akin to a newfound strength surging through his veins. He dropped to the floor, his forehead humbly touching the ground in a gesture of deep gratitude. "Thank you, Master Lauscher." Lang's voice brimmed with exultation, his gratitude evident. Lauscher's expression softened, the moment of sternness replaced by warmth. He regarded his apprentice with a knowing smile, a silent acknowledgement of the journey they had undertaken together. "Sensing your enthusiasm is enough for me, Lang," he replied, his voice a blend of affection and mentorship. As their interaction unfolded, a melodious chirp floated through the room, drawing their attention to the window. Geo, the blue bird, perched there gracefully, her presence a timely interruption. "Good morning, Master." Geo's voice resonated with cheerfulness as she greeted Lauscher. "Ah, Geo, you've returned. I was hoping to hear your report," Lauscher welcomed, his tone conveying both curiosity and appreciation. He patted a pillow beside him, inviting the bird to join him. "Thank you, Master," Geo replied, settling down on the indicated spot. The first two locations yielded no significant observations, neither during the day nor the night. However, the third location presented an interesting anomaly. Throughout the day, only a handful of workers entered or left the premises. But come nightfall, a considerable number of black-clothed martial artists arrived and departed, carrying numerous packages. The total count of packages numbered around 70, with only a few returning. Their actions, along with their swift and coordinated movements, suggest a journey of some distance. Lauscher absorbed the information, his mind churning as he processed the details. The bluebird's insights provided a valuable piece of the puzzle, offering him a clearer understanding of the situation at hand. "Was there anything else you observed?" Lauscher's curiosity was piqued. Geo continued, her words laden with a hint of concern. "I detected a presence of formidable cultivation among the group, several times more potent than your own, Master." A sense of gravity hung in the air as the implications of Geo's statement settled upon them. Lauscher's gaze remained steady, contemplative. It seemed that the Jin Mukyung's primary objective was becoming clearer by the moment. The other locations were likely diversions, meant to confuse any prying eyes. "The Jin family's true focus is undoubtedly this third location," Lauscher mused, his mind working through the intricate web of possibilities. But as you've implied, I cannot rush into this recklessly. I'll need to devise a strategic plan before I proceed. Jia's anxious protest pierced the air, her concern evident. Master, please, reconsider. This endeavor is perilous, and your life? Laosher interrupted her with a gentle reassurance. Fear not, Jio. I am no fool to rush headlong into danger. Rest assured, I will exercise caution and prudence. It is imperative to assess and strategize before taking action. He regarded the blue bird with a meaningful expression, his voice a soothing balm. And I promise you, Jiu, your safety is paramount. You have a promising future ahead. Jiu nodded in acknowledgement, her worries quelled by Laosher's words. With a nod of approval, Laosher rose from his seat, his gaze shifting to the window. Rest well for today, Jiu. There is food here for you. And I must attend the tournament, he said, a reassuring smile gracing his features. Jiu dipped her head in gratitude, her focus shifting to the nourishment before her. As she pecked at the offered biscuits, her keen eyes followed Laosher's departure. The blue bird watched the room grow quiet once more, her thoughts dwelling on the future and the paths that lay ahead. Chapter 5. Challenges. The atmosphere buzzed with electricity, the air thick with anticipation. As the sun ascended into the morning sky, casting a golden hue over the bustling city, an undercurrent of excitement hummed through the streets. It was the final day of the tournament, a culmination of skill, determination, and ambition that had gripped the city for the past few days. This day, however, dark clouds gathered on the horizon, their ominous presence almost like a sign of a foreboding omen. Despite the uneasy weather, the city's fervor remained unyielding, as spectators and participants alike poured toward the grand arena where destinies would be forged and legends born. The arena itself stood as a testament to the magnitude of the event. Decorated with fiery symbols and intricate designs, it radiated an aura of grandeur and significance. It was clear that the Jean family, the tournament's host, had spared no expense in creating an arena that would be etched into the memories of those present. Vibrant banners fluttered in the breeze, each bearing the crest of different martial sects from far and wide. Amidst this grandeur, the stage was set for the final clashes of martial prowess. The stands were filled to the brim with spectators, their energy palpable as they chattered and speculated on the day's outcomes. Excitement crackled in the air like static, a shared emotion that united the diverse crowd. Whispers of anticipation echoed through the seating, tales of the competitors' earlier victories and their rumored strengths exchanged fervently among the observers. As the participants took their places on the arena floor, the crowd's energy seemed to crescendo. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for, the climax of the entire tournament. The competitors' faces reflected a mix of determination, apprehension, and a burning desire to prove themselves worthy. In the midst of this fervor, a small group of darkly dressed martial artists sat at the front row, their presence a stark contrast to the colorful attire of the spectators. Their keen eyes, sharp and focused, were like knives, slicing through the excitement with an air of stoicism. It was evident that they were not here solely as spectators. Their purpose was something more calculated, more inscrutable. As the final day's proceedings commenced, the crowd's energy reached a fever pitch. The anticipation was a living entity, intertwining with the very essence of the arena itself. The clashes that were to come held the promise of determining not only the victors, but also the fates of those involved. Legends would be written in blood and sweat, and the echoes of the day's events would linger in the memories of all who bore witness to the trials and triumphs that unfolded within the grand arena's fiery embrace. Amidst the grandeur of the arena, Jin Mu-kyung's commanding presence stood tall, a focal point of the crowd's attention. His posture and aura commanded respect, and as he addressed the guests, a hushed silence fell over the gathered spectators. The anticipation in the air was nearly palpable, and all eyes were fixed on the patriarch. Welcome, everyone, to the finals of this year's Rising Fire and Soaring Sky tournament. His voice resonated, carrying a weight that captured the attention of every soul present. With an expansive gesture, he directed the audience's attention towards the participants who, in their varied martial attire, entered the arena with a mix of focused determination and nervous energy. The crowd responded with a subdued yet powerful applause, acknowledging the fierce contenders who had earned their place on this grand stage. Without further ado, Jin Moo-kyung continued, his voice infused with an undercurrent of excitement, "Let the fights begin." The utterance of these words was met with a resounding roar from the spectators, their anticipation reaching its zenith. On this pivotal day, only 3 numbers were written on the wooden plaques, while one remained blank, a token of chance that would shape the unfolding battles. The 7 competitors, each aware of the significance of their draw, stepped forward to reveal their fates to the judges. Amidst them, Tian Lang pulled the one, a fortuitous outcome that granted him the opportunity he sought. Zhao Feng, adorned in black attire that seemed to absorb the very light around him, pulled the empty plaque. His reaction was visceral, a manifestation of his pent-up frustration and anger, as he crushed the wooden emblem in his clenched fist. Seething with rage, Zhao Feng's gaze settled on the competition field. This was not the first time he had been denied an opportunity to prove his skill, and his impotent fury radiated like an aura around him. Lang, keenly aware of the boy's discontent, tried to quell any thoughts of distraction, focusing solely on the battle before him. As the battles commenced, the participants faced off with a mixture of excitement, trepidation, and resolve. Lang took his position with sword in hand, ready to face his opponent, the formidable Wei Ling. Her beauty belied her lethal skill, and as she locked eyes with Lang, there was a palpable energy between them. "Tian Lang," Wei Ling's voice carried across the arena, "I want you to give me your best. Hold nothing back." Lang's response was a confident smile, his resolve unwavering. "Neither will I, Wei Ling." The clash of their swords created a gust of wind that swept through the arena, a testament to the intensity of their exchange. Wei Ling's strikes were a whirlwind of precision and speed, each aimed with the intent to break her opponent's defense. Yet, Lang's crescent moon strides technique allowed him to deftly parry her assaults and shift the momentum of the battle to his favor. In a breathtaking display of his growing prowess, Lang's sword became enveloped in his chi, igniting it with fleeting flames that danced and flickered. The surprise of this fiery display momentarily caught Wei Ling off guard, and Lang seized the opportunity to go on the offensive. Their swords clashed in a flurry of strikes, weaving a tapestry of fluid movement and calculated counters. In a pivotal moment, Lang's blade found its mark, and Wei Ling's sword was disarmed, landing outside the arena's boundary. With his weapon poised at her throat, Lang held the advantage, and the audience erupted in cheers and applause as the stunning duel reached its culmination. "I submit," Wei Ling conceded, her expression a mix of admiration and chagrin. "You have bested me, Tian Lang." With a graceful bow and mutual respect, the two opponents exchanged gestures of camaraderie. As Wei Ling left the arena, the crowd's enthusiasm continued to reverberate, celebrating not only the victory but also the spirit of competition that had captivated the city. In the heart of the arena, the tension hung heavy in the air as the audience hushed in anticipation. 2 contrasting figures stood poised for battle: the serene Tang, a disciple of the legendary Shaolin Temple, and the elegant Xiao Wu, whose grace belied the fierceness of her wind-based techniques. With the sun casting long shadows, the final day of the tournament promised a clash that would be etched into memory. Tang's attire was simple, the robe of a monk, his hands wrapped in cloth, revealing the calloused palms of a martial artist dedicated to hand-to-hand combat. His calm demeanor contrasted with the swift energy of Xiao Wu, her fan poised like an extension of her will. As the gong resounded, they circled each other, eyes locked in a dance of intent. Their movements began, Tang's steps grounded and deliberate, Xiao Wu's form fluid and unpredictable like the wind itself. She struck first, her fan a blurring extension of her hand, as she unleashed a barrage of slicing strikes. Tang's reflexes were a testament to his training. He weaved through the air, his hands deflecting the flurry of attacks with expert precision. Tang's response was measured. He advanced with a series of strikes, each hit calculated for maximum impact. His fists surged forward with grace, aiming for the points of vulnerability in Xiao Wu's defenses. Yet, her movements were like whispers in the wind, evading his blows with a dancer's grace. As the minutes stretched into the fight, the audience's awe grew. Each move, each exchange, was a symphony of skill. The clash of hands against fan filled the arena, a testament to their unwavering determination. Tang's relentless advances found purchase, the force of his strikes wearing away at Xiao Wu's defenses. But as the wind rises before a storm, Xiao Wu's response was a whirlwind of motion. She spun, her fan dancing to a rhythm only she could hear. A gust of wind surged forth, a potent strike that sent Tang stumbling backward. The tide of the battle shifted as Tang adapted. He utilized the monk's teachings, his movements deliberate and powerful. Every strike contained the energy of his cultivated qi, each blow precise and forceful. Yet, Xiao Wu's wind-style arts were not to be underestimated. She countered with speed and agility, her fan like an extension of her body, striking from unexpected angles. With the sun casting long shadows across the arena, the intensity of the fight grew. Both warriors were pushed to their limits, their determination unyielding. As Tang lunged forward with an earth-shaking punch, Xiao Wu spun like a gust of wind, her fan slicing through the air. In a breathtaking moment, her strike met Tang's fist, the clash of their techniques resonating through the arena. But in the end, it was Xiao Wu's finesse that prevailed. Her final strike was like the crescendo of a storm, her fan a tempest that struck with unparalleled force. Tang fought valiantly, his monk training fueling his endurance, but his strength could not outlast Xiao Wu's artistry. In a final whirl of motion, her fan found its mark, a strike that reverberated through Tang's form. He stumbled, his body unable to sustain the force. As the dust settled, Xiao Wu stood triumphant, her fan at her side. The audience erupted in applause, acknowledging the hard-fought battle that had unfolded before them. Tang bowed to his opponent, his respect evident in the gesture. As Xiao Wu left the arena, her gaze met Tang's briefly, a shared understanding between two warriors who had pushed each other to their limits. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, the legacy of their battle lingered, a testament to the unwavering spirit of martial prowess that defined the world of murim. The arena was alight with anticipation as the next match was announced. The clash between Wei Ling, the skilled glaive wielder, and Chen Tao, the agile kicker who had garnered victories with his lightning-fast strikes. The air buzzed with excitement as they stepped onto the sand, their contrasting techniques promising a spectacle of speed and precision. Wei Ling stood with her glaive held before her, the long shaft gleaming in the sunlight. Her stance was poised, her gaze focused as she assessed her opponent. Across from her, Chen Tao moved with a dancer's grace, his movements quick and nimble. His limbs were coiled springs, ready to unleash a torrent of kicks upon his adversary. As the gong sounded, the fight erupted into motion. Chen Tao surged forward, his first kick aimed at Wei Ling's head. Her glaive swung with fluidity, deflecting the strike with a precision born of countless hours of training. But Chen Tao was relentless, each kick leading to another in rapid succession. Wei Ling fought to maintain her distance, her glaive spinning with a defensive elegance. She struck with precision, her strikes executed with the intention of creating space between her and her opponent. But Chen Tao was unyielding, his kicks a flurry of motion that pressed her back. His agility was unmatched, his kicks launching from unexpected angles. He spun, his foot a whirling blur as it aimed for Wei Ling's midsection. She blocked, her glaive moving to intercept the kick, but Chen Tao's speed was deceptive. He shifted mid-air, his other leg striking out in a kick that swept her legs from under her. Wei Ling hit the sand, her glaive clattering beside her. Chen Tao wasted no time, his strikes unrelenting as he closed in on his downed opponent. His kicks were a symphony of precision, each landing with a controlled force that rattled Wei Ling's defenses. But Wei Ling was no novice. As Chen Tao advanced, she brought her glaive into play. With a powerful sweep, she leveraged her weapon's reach, striking at his legs and forcing him to retreat. The tables turned, the distance created anew. Chen Tao pressed forward once more, his determination unswayed. His kicks were swift and direct, aimed to close the gap and render her glaive ineffective. But Wei Ling was a master of her art, her strikes finding purchase, her timing impeccable. The fast-paced dance continued, each exchange a testament to their expertise. Chen Tao's kicks were met with Wei Ling's calculated counterattacks, her glaive a barrier between them. Yet his relentless assaults proved difficult to ward off completely, his speed a constant challenge. As the minutes slipped away, the audience was captivated by the back-and-forth battle. The sun cast elongated shadows across the arena, the intensity of the fight mirrored in the crowd's reactions. And then, in a final surge of motion, Chen Tao's kick found its mark, a strike that broke through Wei Ling's defense and sent her staggering. She stumbled, her glaive slipping from her grasp. Chen Tao seized the moment, his strikes landing with precision. With a final, sweeping kick, he brought her to the ground, the force of impact reverberating through the arena. The crowd erupted in cheers as the gong sounded, signaling Chen Tao's victory. He stood victorious, his chest heaving with exertion, his respect evident in his gaze as he offered a hand to Wei Ling. With a gracious nod, she accepted, the camaraderie of the murim world binding them even in defeat. The match had been a whirlwind, a testament to the diversity of martial techniques and the unyielding spirit of its practitioners. As they left the arena, the memory of their lightning-fast clash lingered, a testament to the unending pursuit of excellence that defined their world. The final four contenders once again found themselves drawn into the arena's spotlight. Fresh from his previous victory, Chen Tao was destined to face off against Zhao Feng, while Tian Lang's next challenge came in the form of Xiao Wu. Following a brief intermission, graciously provided by the Jin family, the fierce competition resumed its momentum. The clash between Zhao Feng and Chen Tao was swift and brutal. As soon as the match began, Zhao Feng lunged forward with a ferocity that caught Chen Tao off guard. His clawed hands moved like lightning, slashing through the air with a deadly precision. Chen Tao's kicks were known for their agility and speed, but even his swift footwork couldn't keep up with Zhao Feng's relentless assault. The claw strikes tore through the defenses of Chen Tao, leaving deep gashes on his arms and torso. Despite his best efforts to retaliate with his kicks, Chen Tao found himself overwhelmed by the sheer aggression of Zhao Feng's attacks. The crowd watched in shock as Zhao Feng's brutal onslaught continued. His claws seemed to find their mark with every strike, leaving Chen Tao battered and bloodied. With a final, vicious swipe, Zhao Feng aimed for Chen Tao's leg. The impact was bone-shattering, and Chen Tao let out a scream of pain as his leg snapped under the force of the blow. Chen Tao collapsed to the ground, writhing in agony. The referee stepped in quickly, signaling the end of the fight as medical personnel rushed to attend to the injured contestant. Zhao Feng stood victorious, his chest heaving as he reveled in the cheers from the crowd. The match had been short, but the outcome was clear. Zhao Feng's brutal claw style had proven to be too much for Chen Tao's kicks to handle. As the battle concluded, Zhao Feng stood amidst the arena, his chest heaving with exhilaration. His eyes gleamed with a predatory intensity, and a sinister smile played on his lips. The taste of victory was like sweet nectar to him, and he reveled in the agony of his fallen opponent. His clawed hands, stained with Chen Tao's blood, reflected the brutal nature of his fighting style. However, the audience's reaction was far from celebratory. Murmurs of disgust rippled through the crowd as they witnessed Zhao Feng's cruel actions. The majority of onlookers were repelled by his sadistic display, finding it difficult to admire a fighter who reveled in causing pain. Only a small group of individuals dressed in black robes at the front row seemed to find pleasure in Zhao Feng's brutality. Their impassive faces showed a twisted kind of approval as they clapped at his victory. Their cold and calculating gaze sent a shiver down the spines of those nearby, hinting at a darker agenda behind their support for Zhao Feng. Amidst the sea of disapproval from the audience, Zhao Feng's posture exuded dominance, and he basked in the attention and fear he elicited. He resembled a martial beast that had just taken down its prey, savoring the moment with a hunger that matched his vicious attacks. The arena was filled with a mixture of reactions, some in awe, some in unease, and others in repulsion. Zhao Feng's face was a canvas of predatory pleasure, his eyes alight with the sadistic enjoyment of his victory. He was a force to be reckoned with, a fighter who not only sought to defeat his opponents, but also reveled in their pain. The memory of his ruthless victory would be etched in the minds of those who witnessed it, a chilling reminder of the savage nature that lay beneath his composed exterior. The tension in the arena was palpable as Tian Long and Xiao Wu faced each other in the center. The two fighters exuded an air of confidence and grace, each fully aware of the other's skills. The audience held their breath, eager to witness this clash of exceptional techniques. As the gong signaled the beginning of the fight, Xiao Wu's fan fluttered open with a flourish, the movement accompanied by a gentle breeze that rustled her hair. Her eyes locked onto Tianlong with a mixture of determination and respect. With fluid steps, she moved forward, her fan an extension of her body as she launched a series of intricate attacks. Tianlong responded with agility, his footwork mirroring the dance-like quality of Xiao Wu's movements. His sword whirled through the air with precision, deflecting her strikes and countering with finesse. The clash of their weapons created a symphony of metal on metal, each strike a testament to their mastery of their respective techniques. Xiao Wu's attacks were swift and unpredictable, her fan cutting through the air like a blade. She utilized the wind itself to enhance her movements, creating a mesmerizing display of speed and elegance. Tianlong's defensive maneuvers were equally captivating, his swordplay a seamless blend of offense and defense. He flowed like water, evading Xiao Wu's strikes with a combination of footwork and subtle shifts in his stance. The crowd was entranced by the spectacle before them, the fighters' movements a beautiful and deadly dance. Applause and cheers erupted from the audience, their admiration evident for both combatants. The arena was alive with energy, the atmosphere charged with excitement. As the battle raged on, Tianlong's eyes began to emit a faint glow, a manifestation of his internal qi. With a sudden burst of power, he infused his sword with qi, causing it to emit a brilliant light. The intensity of his attacks increased, and he began to press Xiao Wu more aggressively. Xiao Wu responded in kind, her movements becoming even more fluid and precise. She expertly used her fan to manipulate the air around her, creating gusts of wind that both shielded her from Tianlong's strikes and enhanced the speed of her own attacks. Their techniques intertwined in a breathtaking display of skill, each fighter pushing the other to their limits. The battle seemed to transcend mere combat. It was an expression of their dedication and mastery. In the final moments of the fight, Tianlong's qi-infused sword found its mark, narrowly grazing Xiao Wu's arm. The impact of his strike caused her to stagger, and for a brief moment, the arena fell silent. Tianlong lowered his sword and extended his hand toward Xiao Wu. "Submit," he said with a genuine respect in his voice. Xiao Wu's chest heaved as she met his gaze, a mixture of admiration and acceptance in her eyes. With a nod, she conceded defeat and clasped his hand in acknowledgement. The audience erupted in applause, the arena alive with the recognition of the exceptional battle they had just witnessed. Tianlong's victory was a testament to his skill and the power of his qi-infused techniques. As he helped Xiao Wu to her feet, a mutual understanding passed between them, a recognition of the bonds forged through combat and the mutual respect of two warriors. The arena buzzed with an electric tension as the final battle drew near. Whispers of anticipation filled the air, punctuated by the occasional gasp from the crowd. Zhao Feng's demeanor was that of a predator about to strike, his eyes gleaming with a mixture of excitement and cruelty. His claw-like nails seemed to glint ominously in the arena's light, casting an eerie shadow of his intentions. On the other side, Lang remained composed, his closed eyes betraying the intense focus he channeled into the upcoming confrontation. As the participants took their moments of respite, the spectators exchanged knowing glances, their excitement building like a gathering storm. Jin Mu's keen eyes surveyed the scene, a hint of concern tugging at the corners of his expression. Beside him, Lauscher's gaze was fixed on the fighters, his instincts on high alert. He glanced briefly at the group of darkly clad martial artists seated at the front, a chill running down his spine as their cold gazes met his. "The tension is palpable," remarked Mu, his voice low but laced with an undercurrent of excitement. "Indeed, but be prepared for any outcome," replied Lauscher, his eyes shifting from the fighters to the enigmatic figures in the front row. As the gong resounded through the arena, the battle ignited with explosive energy. Zhao Feng surged forward like a tempest, his ferocious attacks a whirlwind of aggression. His claws darted like deadly talons, seeking to rend and tear. In response, Lang's sword danced with a swift elegance, each movement a calculated defense against Feng's relentless onslaught. The clash of metal against claws reverberated through the air, an exhilarating symphony of combat. The audience watched in awe as Lang countered Feng's every move, his swordplay a masterful dance of precision and agility. But Feng's grin widened with each failed attack, his excitement apparent as he reveled in the challenge. Shallow cuts adorn Lang's form, a testament to Feng's prowess. The battle seemed to sway in the favor of the ruthless fighter. Then, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, Lang's stance shifted. The air around him ignited with an orange flame, his sword ablaze with newfound power. He surged forward with a renewed vigor, catching Feng off guard. The tide turned as Lang's onslaught forced Feng onto the defensive. The sudden shift in momentum surprised even Feng himself, and his eyes widened in disbelief. But anger flared within Zhao Feng, a beast unleashed. His eyes turned crimson, his claws crackling with dark lightning. A surge of power coursed through him as he lashed out with newfound brutality, shattering Lang's sword and leaving him defenseless. The audience held their breath as Feng's claws closed in, victory seemingly within his grasp. Yet, at the last moment, a Jin family guard intervened, his action preventing a fatal outcome. A drop of Lang's blood trickled down, a testament to how close disaster had come. The verdict was announced, Zhao Feng the victor, but the atmosphere was far from celebratory. A mixture of unease and discomfort pervaded the air, the crowd's applause hesitant and hollow. The darkly dressed onlookers in the front row were the exception, their claps sharp and resonant, akin to the predator applauding his own victory. The scene was a haunting one, a sinister figure reveling in the agony he inflicted, the audience recoiling in disgust, and a brave young fighter standing on the brink of defeat but far from broken. As the final clash concluded, the arena erupted into a spectacular display of fireworks that painted the late afternoon sky with a vibrant burst of colors. Amid the resounding cheers, Jin Mukyung gracefully bowed before Zhao Feng, presenting him with a lavish satchel filled to the brim with gleaming coins. The heavy pouch exchanged hands, marking the formal reward for the victorious fighter. However, beneath the facade of triumph, a volatile undercurrent surged within Zhao Feng. His clenched fists betrayed a simmering frustration, like a predator denied its prey. With a curt nod to the patriarch, he turned swiftly and strode away, his sect following in his shadow. The victorious heir held no allure for him. The taste of victory was tainted by the absence of his desired opponent, Tian Lang. As Zhao Feng's retreating figure merged into the horizon, the collective sigh of the audience echoed through the arena, a release of pent-up tension. The ambience shifted from unease to jubilation, a chorus of cheers and applause that reverberated through the air. Though Tian Lang hadn't emerged as the winner, his performance had left an indelible mark on the crowd. Sect representatives from various corners of the martial world approached him, each extending their congratulations and extending an invitation to their own ranks. Lang politely declined, his eyes reflecting a mixture of humility and determination. The opportunity to forge his path was his focus, and the allure of various sects couldn't sway his resolve. In the midst of the commotion, Lao Shi made his way through the crowd, his appearance a distinctive one that caused heads to turn and whispers to ripple. His presence was like a reassuring beacon amidst the sea of faces. He approached his disciple, his eyes sweeping over Lang's form with a blend of pride and concern. A sense of relief flooded his features as he gently examined Lang's neck, where a faint droplet of blood had marked a perilous moment. Remarkable performance, Lao Shi commended, his voice a blend of warmth and approval. Your skill and determination were truly impressive. Lang beamed at his master's praise, bowing respectfully. Thank you, Master Lao Shi. Your guidance and training were invaluable. The surrounding crowd seemed to fade into the background as the master and disciple exchanged words. The fireworks continued to paint the sky with their brilliant hues, a symbolic representation of the grand spectacle that had unfolded in the arena. Amidst the festive atmosphere, Jin Mukyung stepped forward, his authoritative presence commanding attention. The chatter among the martial experts gradually subsided as they turned their gaze toward the patriarch. A respectful hush fell over the arena, punctuated only by the crackling of the remaining fireworks. Esteemed martial practitioners and guests, Jin Mukyung began, his voice carrying a blend of reverence and intrigue. I must take this moment to reveal the true identity of our distinguished guest, who stands among us today as a master of unparalleled skill. His eyes shifted toward Lao Shi, the rabbit-like spirit beast, who returned the gaze with an air of serene confidence. This remarkable individual is known as Lauscher, the patriarch continued, his tone infused with a sense of reverence. He is a figure of great renown and possesses a stature that far surpasses what meets the eye. Jin Mukyung's words were met with curious murmurs, as the martial experts exchanged puzzled glances. He chooses to mask his true identity under the visage of a spirit beast. The rabbit, Jin Mukyung explained, gesturing toward Lauscher. But make no mistake, his actual standing in the world of cultivation is of utmost significance. A being of immense power and knowledge, he has taken it upon himself to guide and mentor our own contestant, Tian Lang, who stands as his direct disciple. Whispers of astonishment spread through the audience, mingling with the murmurs of recognition as Lang's presence beside Lauscher confirmed the truth of Jin Mukyung's words. The revelation cast a new light on the enigmatic rabbit spirit beast, transforming him into a figure of intrigue and curiosity. The presence of Master Lauscher among us is an honor that reflects the gravity of our Rising Fire and Soaring Sky tournament, Jin Mukyung proclaimed, his words resonating with a mixture of respect and admiration. It is a testament to the bonds that flourish in the martial world, transcending the boundaries of appearances. The martial experts absorbed this revelation with a mix of awe and respect. Lauscher's role as a prominent figure, shrouded in mystery, and his connection to Tian Lang added an additional layer of significance to the ongoing tournament. The atmosphere buzzed with a newfound appreciation for the events that had unfolded, and as the echoes of Jin Mukyung's words faded, a renewed energy permeated the arena. "Thank you, Mu, for your kind words," Lauscher replied to Jin Mukyung with a modest smile. "I am but a humble master who has been blessed with a remarkable disciple. There is no greater honor for a teacher." His expression radiated warmth as he looked at Tian Lang, a mixture of pride and fondness in his eyes. Turning his attention to the surrounding crowd, Lauscher addressed their inquiries directly. "I've heard whispers of your interest in recruiting my disciple," he said, his tone gentle yet firm. "I understand the allure of his potential, but as his direct master, I must prioritize his journey. We shall remain here for a few more days, sharing our gratitude for your hospitality, and then we'll depart for my own sect. If any of you have questions or seek guidance, I am more than willing to offer my insights." As the martial experts gathered around him, Lauscher's presence exuded an air of wisdom and approachability. The aura of mystery that had initially surrounded him seemed to dissolve in the midst of his genuine interactions with the crowd. He answered questions with patience and shared stories of his experiences, fostering a sense of camaraderie among those present. Seeing his disciples' unease, Lauscher winked subtly at Tian Lang, offering a reassuring signal. Encouraged by his master's support, Lang seized the opportunity to slip away from the growing crowd, making his way back to the tavern. Inside, the atmosphere was jovial and welcoming, a stark contrast to the formal proceedings at the arena. Lang joined in the festivities, sharing drinks, laughter, and stories with his newfound friends. The coins piled up on his table as guests paid their respects and expressed their admiration for his skills. The sense of camaraderie filled the air, and Lang felt a connection with those around him. As the night wore on and his spirits lifted, he decided to call it a night. With his earnings in hand and a contented heart, he made his way back to his room in the tavern, ready to welcome the embrace of sleep after a day that had been filled with both challenges and triumphs.